Hey, listeners, welcome to episode 119 of the Avocado Games Cast, the Avocado's gaming podcast. And here at the Games Cast, we just turned DLSS 5 on. I'm Merve, and I'm hot now. Joining me, you know them, you love them, and they're also hot now, is my buddy Cindy, aka Bloomed Wings. How are you doing?
I mean, hot, but actually not too hot considering that it's been hot and humid out in here. Classic lousy March weather for Pittsburgh of I think it was like below freezing like less than a week ago, I want to say it was, and then like full on 2 hour delay for school stuff. And now it's like it hit like 80 degrees today.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's like balmy.
And
Um,
then, well, yeah, and then it like thunderstormed like earlier, just a little bit. Not like the wind. Like I got a bit nervous because like the last storm that hit was like a windstorm that like that was last week. Not this past Friday, but the Friday before, and it like knocked out power like in the area like for a while. So I was like, I hope that it is nothing like that because I probably won't be able to record if I don't have power. Like,
Yeah, that's kind of an issue, right? Um, and it's not like you got a backup generator going, or you're gonna waste your precious battery packs
no,
on the
I mean,
Avocado
like
Gamescast.
I could always have done the mobile hotspot thing of like, oh, I'll like just use my mobile data and record through this, but I feel like then there's the risk of like just worse connection, worse mic, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Like,
Oh yeah, like mobile data is fantastic, but it's really not like podcast stable, unfortunately.
no, exactly.
Up here, the weather, like, it was warm not that long ago. But since then, it's gotten way colder and we're back down below freezing. And like, I was about to take my bike out and get it serviced, and now I can't even wheel my bike to the bike shop because there's too much ice on the sidewalks.
Oh God.
So, yeah, it's it's not great right now. It's there's going to be more snow and freezing rain next week. So, life is grand up here. I'm very lucky. I can just take public transit to work, so I don't really have to worry about what my car is doing or whether I can bike or walk
Yeah.
safely. But
Well, now I'm also like we have a car, but I prefer not to use like in general I prefer not to use it, but right now I'm especially like I do not want to use this because I don't want to use gas at the moment. I would rather not actually.
oh yeah, that's gonna take a long time to unwind.
It is, yeah,
Um,
it is. It is. The prices are already up everywhere. Like, and I think they're only going to go up even higher. Like, it's. I fortunately had filled up like right before. Like, I had insider trading on gas. I guess. Like,
um, I had to drive quite a bit yesterday. Like I had to drive across the river into Quebec. I'm like, well, it was good. It was for a nice dinner party. I had a lot of nice food. But on the way there, I was like, man, this food better be worth it.
yeah,
This gas
it,
is like above $1.50 a liter right now. It's expensive.
it's more. Yeah, all of a sudden, a meal. The further away the meal is, the more it's like a fancy dinner of like, oh, this is this is a night out. Like,
Yeah, that's like anytime I go to Quebec, I'm like, yeah, that's where the nice food is. I mean, there are lots of nice restaurants on this side of the river too, but anytime I'm going to Quebec, I'm going there especially to eat at a specific place, so I know I'm in for a good time. Shout out to La Cigale, the ice cream parlor near Gatineau Park, up in Chelsea. They have really good ice cream. That's not where I was yesterday, but
but
uh, just shout out to La Cigale in general.
I do love a like this is the spot I'm going to far away spot. Like, oh,
Yeah.
here's the one spot. Here's a spot that I have found it's good. I'm just gonna go there. Like, and It rules every time.
Yeah, I need to find a few more of those spots because like especially during the summer, I'll just go bike to a cafe or an ice cream parlor somewhere.
Mm,
And then it's mostly a guilt thing. I want to work off the calories that I put on at the ice cream parlor. Um, but a couple of the one time I did it a couple summers ago, I biked all the way into the Canadian neighborhood of Ottawa, which is very far from where I lived, just to get ice cream that was really mediocre. And
oh,
then on the way back, I injured myself. I had like knee problems for a month over this really bad ice cream. Well, it wasn't even really bad. This really mediocre ice cream. It just was not worth the knee injury.
yeah.
So watch how
It's the
you
whole
watch how
like
you stick around.
the quality of it like goes that of like if you had it's like I guess to do like video game terms of it, it's like if you buy like a mediocre like indie platformer and it's like, okay, well I spent $10 on this like 8 hour game and it was fine. That's it. But if it's like, oh, I spent $70 on the newest platformer and it took me 25 hours to get through, and none of that was like the best platforming that I've had of my life or anything, it's gonna be like, oh god, like this just feels worse in a way.
What do you think Balan Wonderworld is taking it off strays?
Now, all right, right. Look, I'm not gonna jump on that train yet because I still need to get on that. I
Oh, you
still need
really
to.
want to go on the Balan train?
I want to at least experience it. I if there's one thing I've learned, it's that sometimes the internet is wrong. I know it's it's wild, but sometimes.
Yeah, I played I haven't played the full game. I did play the demo, and it's one of the most baffling things I've ever experienced in my life. It explains nothing. It just kind of throws you in there, and one button does everything. Um, you can move and do action.
And
So
that is it.
yeah, yep. It's a curious game. It's a very curious game. Um,
They should have made a special controller for it that is just like one big button.
Oh, it should be remember those Staples ads with the easy
Exactly.
button?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Like the easy button. It's the ball and Wonderworld button, and you just ooh, it could look like the guy, like the hat, and like you're pressing the hat down, and it does a thing. It's like boom.
Like,
That's the
if I were
that's
you
the hardware innovations that we really need. Like we keep having like
not
companies
so
coming
great
out.
hardware innovations.
Yeah,
Um,
companies coming out and say like being like, hey, this is the future, and it's not a good looking future.
yeah, so speaking of that not so good looking future, um, NVIDIA recently unveiled the latest version of their DLSS technology that's slated to come out this fall for, I guess, higher end NVIDIA graphics cards. They unveiled this as part of their, I guess, annual or semi-annual GPU Technology Conference or GTC, which is, I think, deliberately supposed to sound like GDC, um, except for here it's all like originally it was all like graphics tech, and now as NVIDIA has increasingly become more of an AI company, uh, there are some increasingly, let's say, questionable or amoral things that are announced there, as we'll get into in a little bit. Um, so NVIDIA releases this trailer for DLSS 5. By the way, DLSS stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling. And if you don't really pay too much attention to like video game art or, or graphical tech, and you're just kind of looking at the image really close without paying too much attention, um, like you might be like, "Oh, that does kind of pop a little better," or "Oh, that facial model looks a little nicer." But if you watch that trailer with a bit of a critical eye, you'll start to notice some questionable decisions, like female characters who appear to have more makeup with DLSS 5 on, or male characters who have differently shaped noses and different haircuts when you turn DLSS 5 on. Uh, Light sources that appear to come from nowhere, illuminating different parts of the environment.
Dad.
And this has turned out to be a little bit controversial, or more than a little bit controversial, I should say, when various artists and games media folks and developers started pointing out all these issues. At around the same time, the storied video game tech guys, Digital Foundry, also released a video about them going hands-on with DLSS. And the video was mostly praiseworthy, although it did note some potential areas for controversy regarding uh, changes in art style. But by and large, they were super positive on it. And now this has provoked some backlash against Digital Foundry for having been, I guess, so credulous of the tech. So we're gonna get into like the details of what this tech is and what DLSS previously was in a little bit. But Cindy, I'm curious, when you first saw this, how were you reacting?
I mean, okay, for me, like first seeing it, the very first glance before like I saw the sort of reaction to it, like it was almost like you said, like I didn't like pay too much attention, but that's more because like for me, this isn't like this just isn't the space that I look into. Like I know, whenever like a new game comes out, it's like here's Digital Foundry's like breakdown, here's their comparison of like, oh, here's the PS5 version versus PC versus whatever. Here's like frame rates, here's resolutions, and like here's things that are tracking that it's like 60 frames, like in this one is like 59 frames per second actually and stuff, and it's stuff that's just not like in my space. So first I was like, okay, sure, there's like a new card. But then all of a sudden I saw like the sort of, you know, what was actually being discussed about it. That it wasn't just, oh, here's a new graphics card thing. That it was, oh, here's a new graphics card thing, and there might be something going on here. And watching that whole sort of like then unfolding of especially then like people being like, pretty sure this is like AI, and then it being like, yeah, it's then people being like, it's definitely AI, and then Nvidia being like, yeah, it's AI. like it is.
Yeah,
And
like this. Sorry, go ahead.
and just it was one of those things where it's like, I think even before like we start to get into the like the yassifying of it all, because like you noted, like that's one of the things, but there's also a lot of other stuff, things like random light, for example, where like all of a sudden things are in there's like more light on a thing, and it's like, okay, but the game was like designed to have shadow there, for example, like things like that, where it's like, what is this isn't necessarily sharpening the resolution or whatever. This isn't a graphics card or whatever that is upgrading the frame rate, the resolution, etc. This is attempting to change things just outright,
Yeah,
and in ways that I think in some ways there's a lot of times where, especially with PCs and like older games, will get you move up to a new card and all of a sudden they just work differently, and sometimes it breaks them. Sometimes like any especially PC player knows like the pain of trying to get like a Windows 95 game now to like run, for example. That it's a real coin toss sometimes of how well that actually goes. So it's like, but this is all like modern stuff. And this is stuff being highlighted as like a good thing. This isn't just, oh, the game is kind of breaking a bit under the thing. This is the future. This is how you will want to run Resident Evil 9, for example, or Starfield. This is how these games deserve to be run. And that just all of a sudden, like, it just again rubbed everyone the wrong way of, hey, like, that's weird. Like,
Yeah, it's interesting you highlight the presumptuousness of doing this because I think the backlash caught Nvidia by surprise. Um, they didn't seem to understand why people were annoyed. And at
right down to what,
first,
like, saying like, no, you're all wrong. Like, they no, the
oh
backlash
yeah, the
was wrong.
CEO Jensen Huang.
Yeah, just
Um,
Wong being like, no, you're wrong. Actually, you're not
so
bad.
let's get into that because it actually highlights what the tech is actually doing. So to do a little bit of history lesson, DLSS I believe was unveiled in 2018, launched in 2019. We'll check the dates for the link done. But the basic idea is it renders images at a lower resolution and it upscales them to a higher resolution and uses machine learning to determine how to do that upscaling. So, like, you can go into the whole tech behind it, but essentially, what it's doing is it's taking what's there and making it higher fidelity. And when they added frame generation with version 3.0, also making it smoother. But the key thing here is that each neural network that the algorithm is trained on is game specific. So the model is trained on a per game basis. It means if you have DLSS going in Starfield, it should be only information that came from Starfield. Or if you have DLSS going in, um, I don't know, Monster Hunter Wilds, it should only be information that came from Monster Hunter Wilds, right? We're not
Yeah.
training it on images from Resident Evil 4. Um, so that's how it used to work. With DLSS 5, the idea, according to NVIDIA, was to get closer to photorealism, which is a pretty loaded term that I think we should unpack
Yeah.
later in
Yeah.
this episode. The idea was to, quote unquote, improve the graphical treatment of lighting and surfaces. So now it doesn't, according to later statements that were made to people in the media about how it works, and also the original press release, it doesn't affect the geometry or deal with the geometry of assets directly. Instead, it sort of acts as a filter on what's rendered. It takes the frame data and motion vectors of objects in the scene as input. This is contrary to what the like you allude to, Cindy, like contrary to what the CEO of NVIDIA said, where he erroneously claimed that it was generative control at the geometry level. No, that's not what it is. It's acting on the data that's on the frame and where things are moving. So it can't account for lighting, it can't account for the materials that things are made out of. It only understands where stuff is moving and what is on the screen. Um, and there are only three settings you can mess around with. You can turn on you can affect the intensity of the effect. You can mess with color grading, so contrast, saturation, gamma, etc. And then you can turn off the effect on certain places on the screen. But other than that, you have no control over the data that feed into the image that is generated if you turn DLSS 5 on. And what became pretty clear is this is no longer a game specific algorithm. It must be trained on other images because how else did we yassify Grace from Resident Evil Requiem? She is not yassified anywhere else in the game. That image must have come from somewhere. what are very common like photographs, videos, etc. Like like in most published things, people want to try to look their best. There's a lot of like fashion shoots and glamour shots, and magazines and stuff like that out there. That is probably what's in the training corpus, and that's how you get yassified grace. And random NPC from Starfield who no longer has a military haircut, but a fashion model fade. Um, yeah, it's and that also explains the lighting, by the way. Photos usually backlit so that they focus on their subject. Not the case with running around a video game, where light can come from all sorts of different places. And in fact, I think the biggest irony of the lighting bit here, if I can talk about that, we spend so much time extolling the virtues of ray tracing. And now here is a tech that completely ignores where the light is actually coming from and just invents new light. It seems like these things are at cross purposes. So yeah,
Yeah,
this is
and
how the tech works. Go ahead.
well, and this is like I think of, especially whenever you say like the professional lighting thing, of how you said earlier about that their kind of goal is to, the stated goal anyway, like, is to make things quote unquote more photorealistic. And like, I think of that, like another Capcom game that comes to mind that, like, I just know, like, a lot more of the production about, but is Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess game from 2 years back, I guess that
Yeah.
would have been. Um, and that game, for the food, like the food that you can make and feed to Yoshiro, they actually like did like big photo shoots. They got real food made, and they did like 360-degree photo shoots, and then got that in the game and stuff. So in theory, what you have here for the food in there is legitimate scans of food. It looks as real as it possibly can, because this isn't even like them an artist saying this is what the food looks like. This is literally what it looks like in real life. But it is also what it looks like in real life in a photo shoot, where again we have the lighting around it. We have 360 degrees well shot shots. So even whenever we're seeing that food in the game, that is not what, if you went to a restaurant and ordered that same thing, you would see in front of you. Your eyes would not see that, because when you go to a restaurant, you're not having your table is not getting professionally photo lit. Like, it's just not. Like, it would be hurting your eyes, honestly, if you were trying to eat
Yeah.
at a restaurant and all your stuff was being lit like it is in menus and stuff, especially as someone who's like, I've worked in restaurants for a long time, and you set up for the shots of like, hey, we're putting this shot on, social media or whatever. Like, you set it up. You don't just take a shot of, oh, here's a random shot of like a burger that we're sending out right now. You make sure you get
Totally.
lighting right. You
Yeah.
move people around. And so whenever we say like, what is photorealism, the answer is kind of like twofold. Of a lot of the things that you're trying to make it look like are more things that are professionally shot, like you said, backlit supermodels, for example. That there are things, but that is not how we are ever seeing stuff like in real life. We don't see that as we walk around. So if the goal is realism, it's actually not. You're actually going farther away from realism. And wouldn't you know it, usually whenever, like, in that opening scene, for example, where Great of Resident Evil 9 that was highlighted, where Grace is like kind of dulled against in like this misty, um not definitely not Chicago, like, area that she's walking through. Like, that's just how like things would look. The artists did the work to make this look like how you would see a young woman walking through like the light rain, and stuff. And so all of a sudden it's like, hey, what if though we added a filter to that to make it look quote more realistic, but in doing so you're making it look less realistic. Like,
And also not just less realistic, evoking a completely different
Mm-hmm.
vibe and tone. Um, like this is a character who is supposed to be a serious FBI analyst on her way to a crime scene. So, like, don't get me wrong, she's modeled to be an attractive woman, right?
Yeah.
But
Every
she's not
Resident Evil
supposed to look
protagonist
like
is still
she's
like,
heading out for a night on the town. She's supposed to look like she's heading to a job site. And when you render her face differently and give her different makeup, it no longer looks like she's on her way to investigate a crime. It also the way they differently lit that scene, it now looks a lot more hopeful and less
yeah.
like there's a sense of impending dread. It changes the tone of what that scene is trying to convey. You also see this with the other controversial one was with that Starfield NPC, where this happens near the start of the game, where you're on like kind of a mining operation, and this is supposed to be like a daily grind, right? Which is
Yeah.
not like a fun life. So the NPC you interact with, he's supposed to, look like he works in the mines. So that's why his skin isn't super clear, and he has like a not like a pretty no nonsense haircut. Um, and it's also rendered in a specific way with shadows playing on his face. Um, DLSS 5 thinks that the shadow on his face is just a bigger part of his nostril, so he has a differently shaped nose in the DLSS 5 render. They've changed his more like slightly more vacant gray eyes to piercing blues. Um, Now his haircut has changed to a fade, which he somehow has time to maintain to look perfect while he's on this mining operation. And now his skin also looks like he's been doing the whole Keel's beauty routine. Um, it no longer looks like this is a guy who's working in a mine. It looks like this is a dude straight out of central casting. And again, it completely changes the vibe and tone of that scene and what it is trying to narratively convey. Um, and the reason I want
NVIDIA.
to highlight Starfield is because a lot of people were saying, and like Todd Howard himself was saying, "Oh, Starfield looks so much better now with these effects on," but it doesn't. It's like the so much of what the like. I know people say Starfield is not artistic and blah blah blah. People don't like it very much, and people will dunk on that game whatever opportunity they get. But real artistic decisions went into that game. It is color graded a specific way for a specific reason. And now, if you look at Starfield scenes through DLSS 5, like in the video that Digital Foundry did, they're all more brightly lit and color graded in a way that where they really like upped the saturation and took out some of like the brown and gold hue. But that brown and gold hue is there to evoke a specific feeling, right? It's supposed to evoke like retro futurist optimistic nostalgia. And that goes away entirely when you color grade it like it's clean modernist sci-fi. It's not supposed to be that. Um, and there's like no accounting for the artistic intent and meaning when you do this kind of like mass Gen AI slop filter on what's being rendered to the player. Like there's real intent that goes into every artist's decision, every modeler's decision, etc. And all that is lost under this kind of filter.
Yeah, and we can like you said with Starfield that and like I don't really have enough of a like opinion on Starfield because like I just Bethesda RPGs just have never really done stuff for me. But again, that like you said, it is there's a specific thing going on whenever they make a Bethesda RPG, even though Bethesda is not really, and especially with like Starfield in particular, like Starfield is not a really a trend chasing game in a way. Like it is if anything kind of bold that in this day and age Bethesda, and yes, it had been like in development for a while, but that Bethesda didn't become the Elder Scrolls and Fallout company that they said we're going to make another Bethesda RPG and it's in a whole new thing. And so there is like a lot of design intent that goes into making that. And whether or not you like it is not the point. Like people, people don't like I would hate to see, for example, I think of like Nintendo games of like in the way that they look, Nintendo games filtered through a DLSS 5 like would like what would happen there? Like what would even go on with like those
A
types
lot
of
more
visuals?
eyes up, M.
Yeah, like does it go that way or does it does Donkey Kong become more actual gorilla like? And this is the thing is that also like all the games they highlighted are ones that yes are also kind of the big thing, are a lot of the big thing in the PC space, but they are ones that are in some way supposed to evoke a sense of realism and
Yeah.
are doing a lot of artist, and there's a lot of artist intent to make it have that realism. And again, even like yes, Starfield is sci-fi. Starfield is also a sci-fi that like there are industrial miners. There are people who are dirty and it is very down not down to earth, I guess. But like it is trying to have itself be not fantastical.
Yeah.
And
There's a certain kind of mundanity
yeah,
to how it like what it's portraying. Like you are you spend a lot of time interacting with just regular people in that game.
so
And
like
if yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
so like yeah, that it's the games that they chose to highlight are again playing into this idea of photorealism, making it look realistic. They're picking games that are in some way evoking realism. And I shudder to think of like what does happen when this thing gets turned on. Like I don't know. I mean, Kunitsugami was one that I mentioned earlier. That's definitely not a game that's going for, despite using like actual photography and stuff. It's not going for realism. Like what does happen with that, or what does happen with a Oh gosh, why can't I think of any games right now?
Like if you want to think of something that's like the prime example of between realism and stylization, I think of something like Dishonored, which
Yes,
has kind of realistically proportioned people. It is also going for kind of a smeary oil painting type look, and does kind of caricature people's features a little bit.
there's a lot of
Um,
stuff in the Dishonored's also that it's like it wouldn't work. Like the kind of like puppet enemies, I think, if like the like mechanical enemies. It's like those don't like work in real life, but they're
yeah,
kind of fun. Like they're fun. Just shut up. Like, it's Emily's outfit is not gonna be like held together that way. Shut up, she looks cool. Like this is how it, and so yeah, it's like they're realistically proportioned, but there's enough fantastical elements that yeah.
yeah. I don't know what like the facial filter would look like on Dishonored. And then you get into like even more stylized games, like Nintendo games you mentioned, or the output of Double Fine. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like,
would those games look better with an AI slop filter on them? I don't think so. I don't think you can make Keeper look better by yassifying a lighthouse.
well,
There's
and
not
this
much you
well, and
can
this
do there.
also plays into because it was very funny whenever like there was a very good there was a blog that I really enjoyed from Autumn Wright, and they wrote about basically the like way that like sort of the long-standing sexism and misogyny is like that's what's coming out in AI. We know this. Like the fascist model is like it's doing the if real gamers or if real fans design alloy thing. And that's like part of why it's yes, fine grace is that there's this long-standing
Yeah.
um
So
just
the funny thing
misogyny.
about the Yassified Aloy is that was drawn as satire, and it's very funny to essentially have that unironically.
Yeah. And what it made me think of is like I have a bunch of like old gaming magazines, and I had two of them that were from like the same era. Like they both have Command and Conquer's Generals reviews, and they also each have previews of NVIDIA GeForce FX chips from CEO Jensen Huang. Uh, and the biggest thing that it uses to like demonstrate this thing's tech is like a very scantily clad like fairy, like the most like fairy that you can imagine, like big blue butterfly wings and stuff, but also like real skimpy dress. And what it's highlighting is also like, oh, look at this, like you can sort of like see the pores on her skin. Like this is especially like as we're starting to hit the pores on the skin type like era. Um and so again, it's doing this thing where it's like this is a fantastical creature, but we are also really showing you that like look at her skin. And again, it just cannot be stressed enough how much it is like look at her skin, gaze upon it, look at her uh almost falling out boobs. Like this is a thing that, and like we've all seen the graphics card like boxes or whatever that like have, you know, the graphics card waifus on them or whatever, of like here's what your machine will be able to render. Look at how hot of babes your machine will be able to render. And like here we are again. Like that's what it's basically going for. It's not saying it outright like this time, but it's like this has always been there. Like ugh.
Yeah. So this is a topic that I think merits a little bit like bringing a little bit of the technical perspective how it got this way. Um, because like if this thing is being trained on no longer just game data, but external images, what is in the training corpus, right? It's gonna be like your glamour shots, like fashion photography, um, movies, things like that. Um, so it's not surprising that if you train it on those types of images, you are going to reflect society's beauty standards in that
Mm-hmm.
filter. Um, and this is not like an unpredictable outcome. Biased training data in machine learning has been a topic for 15 years that people have been warning about, right? This is
It's
not. Go ahead.
it's the constant when someone like you know, people would like say here's our machine generated algorithm and it's unbiased, but it's like okay, but where did it get its algorithm from?
Yeah,
Like
where
you
like
can't
what corpus did you
find
train it on?
exactly, you can't find, like you really can't find at this point unbiased information, because even if you did feed, if you legitimately fed every single book in existence into a thing, we have a majority of books like that lean this way. We still have a lot of books that represent different groups that were destroyed at times. Like there's just going to be history has been lost and stuff. And
Yeah,
so like
like
there's just no way. There's just no way to get a quote unquote unbiased model like out there.
all data sets reflect the society that generated those data sets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are ways that researchers and people working in the space have come up to deal with it, come up with a deal with it, but those all reflect the values of whoever implements these methods of dealing with these things.
Mm-hmm.
So you really need someone if your intent is we don't want to gassify characters, you need someone to intervene at some point to essentially take the gasification out of the algorithm. Like this is something that requires human intervention. And again, very predictable that this would happen. So either they rush this out without thinking, or they were cool with it. And neither reflects well on NVIDIA and its
Yeah.
engineers and its decision makers. So, like, I don't know. They,
I keep thinking the thing I keep laughing about this is that if Nvidia had really like right now, I think at this time, at this point, if Nvidia had really wanted to like do their conference, but and what I'm gonna say though is antithetical to how this type of tech company works. Of that they could have had their big tech conference and been like, and guess what we are making? We're making video cards, the same ones, but we're going to actually make them so you can get them at a reasonable price and they have not been gobbled up by all the like AI companies. Here are the we have made more of the old thing. Congrats. Like that would actually be a big deal right now. It's like we're looking at, every and I don't and that's like there's a lot of like, where's this even coming from? Like how like what is the production on this? Like, how much is this great thing that ruins your game, the art of games, gonna cost? Even like, again, it's constantly pitching the future, but it's like, dude, I don't even know if we've sorted out the present right now. Whenever it comes to computer graphics.
Oh, do you know what hardware the DLSS 5 demo was running on?
Oh God, what?
Remember SLI? It's back, baby. It was running on two 5090s in parallel. Oh, yeah. That's where we were. The top of not only did you need one top of the line NVIDIA graphics card, you needed two to make this thing happen.
So like again, just like
Whom is this
legitimately, like
for?
just come out on stage and be like the old thing. We have it and it's accessible now. Like, isn't that's basically what Apple's doing with like their new MacBook or whatever it is, their new laptop. It's like, hey, here's a reasonably priced like new laptop from us. Okay, yeah, perfect.
That kind of is what DLSS was pre version 3.0, where it was just the upscaling. That was bringing like higher fidelity rendering to lower end graphics cards.
Hmm.
It was kind of a boon. It was like a great equalizer in some ways. And now they've gone the complete opposite route by giving you a new feature that only works on the toppest of the top of the line graphics cards.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you were wondering why there was some noise happening in the background, I was going into my cupboard to fish out the box that my 4070 came in to see if there were any waifus on it,
Any waifus on it?
and
Yeah.
there are no waifus on my 4070 box.
I think they stopped doing the waifus like at a certain point, like kind of in the post. I feel like they said, okay, all right, we see like we're gonna get called out on it with in like the post Gamergate era of like, oh shit, like our misogyny is a little bit like on display here. But then again,
It's
that
not
what this
from
is,
like
this isn't
graphic card
this wasn't
itself.
highlighting. This wasn't being like, and look, we like made Grace hot. Like we have made Grace hot. Isn't that what you want? They didn't tote that like as the thing, but it's just part of the algorithm. It's just part of what this thing is doing.
Well, it's the expectation that like it's the equation of hotter equals hotter equals better, right?
Hmm.
Like y- it's the expectation that gamers are going to see something more attractive and just automatically associate it with better rendering. Notice how in none of what they showed off did they show off something gross at higher fidelity. And video games, like especially horror games like
Yeah, I was
RE9,
gonna say
have a lot of gross things in them. But we didn't see a higher fidelity zombie or like flesh monstrosity. We saw Grace is hotter. We didn't see any of like the weird, gross stuff in Starfield at higher fidelity. We saw NPCs being turned into models. Um, like the way they chose to sell this reveals a lot about what they think of their audience and what they think their audience believes. Um, and I know I say this a lot, but it's a point worth repeating. Too many people in decision making positions at companies have an unrealistically low opinion of their audience and a really cynical one.
Yep.
Um, like, I think back to last year, the whole scandal at TwitchCon with popular streamer Emiru being assaulted live on camera, and Twitch CEO Dan Clancy seeming to play it down, not like thinking, oh, my audience is just a bunch of like horny, misogynist weirdos stuck in like a parasocial relationship with hot gamer girls. So obviously they're not going to be pissed about this. Um, that was misreading the situation
Yep.
by a lot.
Oh God.
And
Sorry, I'm thinking of all odd like just you saying like not showing gross stuff of and misreading things of what what does a military shooter look like here? Like whenever we talk about realism and stuff, like like military shooters are already their own like very deep bag that we could go into of like a lot of history of. But the core thing is like they do not look realistic whenever like someone gets shot because you don't want to see what it actually looks like. It's the thing. Like when people get shot in a war zone, what does this do?
um,
Like there,
I don't know. Like, do you think it's trained on like R watch people die?
like
Like,
that's the thing. Is like, is it gonna get like stuff from like snuff films or actual war footage, or is it gonna take from like movie rendering and stuff? And I think again that there's this level of wiki of us saying that oh realism is better. Like that's just what CEOs say. That's what again it's like oh the whole Jensen Huang being like no y'all are wrong actually you're wrong to be mad actually you do want this and it's like I don't know that people do actually. I don't think people want
yeah,
to see in Resident Evil like a full on actual like the way that a zombie bite would look or whatever. It's gonna be gnarly. It's gonna be unpleasant. Ugh.
yeah. I think how do I put this? So, like on the subject of military shooters, my guess is that would be trained on a lot of movies, so they wouldn't really have to deal with the reality of what death actually looks like, but in a way that's kind of damning of the whole project, right?
Hmm.
If the stated aim is photorealism, you're not actually getting that by training it on movies and television shows. You're getting what death looks like in movies and television shows. And maybe that's what you actually want for a video game. Sure. But then say that's what you're getting at. Like we want this to look like the movies. Okay,
Hmm.
that's the goal that you can work towards. And to be fair, that's what a lot of military shooters do work towards. Like where did Medal of Honor and Call of Duty come from? It was trying to replicate war movies in
Hmm.
video game form, and that's what they were initially
We constantly
praised
we
for.
constantly hear the cinematic thing that it's like oh this game is new cinematic and that means literally like resembling cinema. Like
That is, I think, both more honest and more noble than pursuing "quote unquote" photorealism,
hmm.
um, because at
But then you need
least there
lighting.
is.
Movies are lit
Yeah,
within
war was
movies
not
are
lit
lit
like
within
that. Let me
yeah,
tell you.
yeah. I can assure you that basically every war movie also doesn't look like it because what you're probably seeing in most of like like the D-Day scene in Saving Private Ryan is a lot of just smoke and sand. Like you just can't see anything.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Spielberg's vision was like I can't fucking see shit. I don't think it was.
Hey,
Right?
you know
Like,
Tom Hanks? What if we didn't see him, actually? Love that
yeah.
guy. I want to hear his voice yelling out stuff, but I don't want to see him.
Was Giovanni Ribisi in that movie? I seem to recall he was.
Oh god, I forget. It's been a long time.
I would just always kind of forget what Giovanni Ribisi is in. He's been in so much stuff, but like I never remember what his roles were. I know he was in Avatar. I know he had a guest spot on Friends, and I just don't know what else Giovanni Ribisi did. But he's
Wait,
just kind of always there.
wait. Okay, hang on. Because wait, who was he in? Who was he in Avatar?
He's Parker Selfridge in Avatar. Do you know why I know this off the top of my head? Because I was listening to our previous episode this morning to finish up the link dump, and Parker Selfridge, played by Giovanni Ribisi, came up. Otherwise, no, I can't pull that off the top of my head.
Okay, but I gotta do like a quick.
Quick Google search for
Yeah,
Giovanni
I'm
Ribisi.
looking him up. No, he's. I think he's a different person than the one I was thinking of. Yeah, yeah, different one. All right.
Oh,
Yeah, but
confusing
again, one of those things
Giovanni
where when
Ribisi with someone else.
oh, like he
Um,
well, there was another guy who was in Avatar who also was like very recognized. But no, I'm looking at it, and the one that the one that he's in that I especially, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like where I've seen his random face is in uh what was it
old
Sky
David
Captain and
Moore, who was in Bones.
no Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow and Flight of the Phoenix in the same year.
Wait, who is in Sky Captain?
Giovanni Ribisi.
Oh, he was in Sky Captain. I'm looking this up right now. Um,
Sorry, everyone. We're not gonna continue talking about the DLSS 5. We're looking up Giovanni Ribisi, seeing what do you think? Do you think it would yassify him?
I mean, it did yassify male characters too. It turned them into male models,
Yeah,
um, which is kind of I think an under discussed aspect of this. Like it it was turning the men into dudes straight out of like the cover of Men's Health. In one case, like I mentioned earlier, it changed a guy with like a military haircut into a dude with a fade, like like a perfect fade, which is very
yeah.
funny. Um,
That's right. That's right. Sorry, I was thinking of uh Joel David Moore is the other is a guy
yeah, that's
in
yeah.
Avatar.
He's in Bones. He's one of the squints from Bones.
Yeah,
This is two episodes in a row where Joel David Moore got brought up, which is the most Joel David Moore has probably been brought up on a podcast in years.
he was
Uh,
it was for me it was watching The Guest, and he's like a drug dealer guy in The Guest, and I was like staring at him every scene he was in, and I was like, how do I know this guy? Like, I know this guy, I don't know how I know him. And then I looked up, there's still David Moore. But no, yeah, that's right. Giovanni Ribisi is the Paul Reiser of Avatar. He's Paul Reiser from Aliens, but in Avatar.
I
But
think
like,
I only know Paul Reiser was star of Mad About You, right?
oh god, I don't know. He was
No,
the
now
star of the Paul Reiser show.
I do remember the Paul Reiser show.
that
Yeah, I saw like
was
two
odd.
episodes of it. It was awful.
That was in the sol. That was them trying to say, hey, we've got like this great lineup on NBC. We've got Community, 30 Rock, The Office, Parks and Rec. We've got the Paul Reiser show, and it did not last.
Speaking of NBC shows that did not last, do you know what my introduction to Jesse Plemons was?
What?
He played a side character on a 6 episode sitcom called Bent that otherwise starred David Walton and Amanda Peet. Um, it was
Yes.
yeah, he's like
I was
the
like, I recognize
contract.
Bent, and as soon as you said Amanda Pete, I was like, that's how I know. Like, the yeah, that's how I know. The title Bent is because I remember Amanda Pete.
That was a good show. Like most of these short-lived NBC sitcoms, like the Paul Reiser show and Friends with Benefits were crap, Bent was good. I stand by that.
I mean,
Um,
I think in general, a lot of NBCs like whenever they would, I mean, it's funny how much like like 30 Rock could have died. Like like Community was constantly going through like its fights to stay on, but like they just would pull out these shows, and then if they didn't hit a good viewership in like the first month or whatever, then it was like, all right, nope, never mind, back out.
yeah, although sometimes they
Network
did.
TV, everyone.
Yeah, I haven't watched network TV in like 4 years at this point. Um, like I don't even watch like Canadian network TV. I haven't tuned into 22 minutes in forever. Um, like the last time I watched network TV was to watch the Oscars, and the time before that I'd watched network TV was last year's Oscars. Like I have a TV tuner card hooked up to my computer, and I just use it annually to watch the Oscars. That's all I do with it. I am so out of the loop on what I guess the normies are watching. I guess the normies are all on Netflix too now. Like,
This is the
who
thing. It's
watches
like
network
this is
TV?
the thing is that the normies are watching The Pit. Like that's HBO, but still, like that's what's happening. It's like yeah, they're getting Stranger Things. They're getting um yeah, they're getting into The Pit and stuff. Like this is the
Watching
things.
Severance.
Yeah. What is okay? I was like, Happy's Place is NBC. That's a network one that
Happiest Place?
yeah, my partner watches it. It's Reba McEntire. It's a new Reba McEntire show. And
Okay.
like
See,
and like
I this is
she was
literally the first I've heard of it.
yeah, and she was like she was a big Reba fan growing up. So she like the sitcom Reba that was about Reba McEntire. Um so yeah, but yeah, that's an NBC one apparently. I was like, I know because that just felt too. That I was like, there's no way that that's not a network show. Like it's like studio audience style, like the laugh tracks and whatnot. Like what's it? Single cam or multi-camera. Multi-camera is the one that I'm thinking of. It's like one of those types of ones. Whatever the case, like that's so like that's not going to be like a streaming only show. That's a network show. That's
Yeah, well, like, has there
was
been any like? Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to ask, was How I Met Your Father network?
No, I believe it was Hulu.
That's
I forget how it aired in Canada. Might have been on Crave.
yeah, original series premieres on Hulu. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
That show was bad. They did not. Okay, I didn't watch the second season. I only watched the first, but it like
well, I don't know why. Like, why would you? Why would you? I could go down a whole hole of like
the whole.
the whole
Sorry.
hole of the How I Met Your Mother hole of oh my gosh, that show A went on way too long, and B, what the heck at that ending. Like
That's a
what?
show that, in a lot of ways, did not age very well.
No,
Um,
oh, so many ways that there's it is one of my favorite, parentheses derogatory shows to randomly like remember a gag and be like, wow, that was a transphobic gag. Like that was
yeah,
that.
a lot of transphobia, a lot of homophobia,
Yep,
uh,
a lot of yeah, some homophobia, some transphobia, some
quite a lot of
racism.
sexism.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of that. The
Not to say that I didn't enjoy it at the time,
oh
but
yeah,
you know,
I
it, it, it seems a little bad in retrospect in a lot of
it
ways.
it's funny how that show was very much one of those ones where like we enjoyed, like we really liked watching it, like me and some friends and my partner and stuff. But then like we were all on board with like we'd tune in and watch it every week, and then we'd like talk about it and be like, "This is bad." Like that was pretty bad. That was just a bad episode. I hate. Ted's so annoying now. Like things like that, where it was like, where we were like still watching, we're like, we need to know this resolution, but we're kind of suffering for a half hour sometimes. Like,
Yeah, that is not something that resolved very well. And it seemed like, the creators, Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, um, had a specific vision for that in mind and didn't see the same thing the audience was seeing. Um, Speaking of not seeing the same thing the audience is seeing, to get back to the Digital Foundry video about DLSS 5, um, they were a little taken aback by the reaction to their video. And at one point, even said that they should have waited to see the reaction
oh my
before
god.
reporting, which is just wild. Um, but okay, before like even before we get to like whether or not that's uh indicative ethical reporting, uh even watching the video itself, when they're pointing out all these supposedly impressive things about the DLSS 5 render, uh they miss a lot of stuff that you'd expect people with an eagle eye for game visuals not to miss. um for instance, they talk about how cool it is that the mouth is now casting a shadow on someone's teeth, but then they miss a blatant things like at one point there's a character wearing a cap with a visor, and in the DLSS 5 render, the visor no longer casts a shadow on his face. That's pretty glaring, and they just miss it in the analysis. Um, it seems it seems very bizarre that people who do this for a living just missed out on all these details.
Yeah, like we like as people, like we all like social media, and yes, it's a ton of people doing this on social media. It's a lot of people doing it, but still, like all you have to do is the one frame. Like we at this point, anyone who has been clued into this controversy knows like the one frame that was shared of um the Grace picture, the comparison one. Like, because people weren't going to analyze this and go into the video and capturing their own frames. Like, someone shared this picture, shared this still, and then everyone else shared it. That's a thing that they could have done too, though. And they could have gone and they could have looked and they could have said, oh, she has teeth in this picture now. Like, all of a sudden she's got the slight overbite. Like, look, that is part of this. She just
Oh
has,
yeah,
you can see
like
red. Like her lips are red all of a sudden. Like they have, it's like, where did that come from? That's
they're
not something.
also like fuller,
Yeah.
as if there's filler or they're contoured a specific way to make them look bigger.
And and
That's
you,
blatant.
again, like you said, you would think that people who are constantly looking through for resolutions and frame and stuff would at some point pause and look side by side and do a like highlights style, can you spot the differences between the two pictures?
I will
um
say, to their very limited credit, they did point out that there were slight aesthetic changes, and
yes,
one of the hosts said that those could be controversial when
but
they
it's the
come from
fact that they
frames.
didn't really like think to push on like this of like,
Yeah,
oh, it's slight aesthetic changes, and then you need to say how did these slight aesthetic changes happen? Because again, that's not just better, quote, better rendering. It's not like, it's not
it's
that
changing of artistic intent, like we mentioned earlier.
exactly. So so you need to say, well, wait, how did this happen? And again, whenever you have Nvidia, a company that is now like just, it's a company that now like you can't really talk about Nvidia without thinking about AI and stuff, without thinking about like generative AI and stuff, whether it be because of like where this is going or the fact that they've said like, yeah, we're going into this, like we are all in on it or whatever.
Yeah, they've gone. very much all in on this and very much outside of consumer tech. One of the partnerships that actually got announced to some degree last year, but was further extended this year, was a partnership with Palantir.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, yeah, uh, which is a company that specializes in surveillance tech for corporations and governments. Um, this is no longer just, hey, maybe graphics tech has applications in, I don't know, milsims, which is where this kind of stuff used to go that was controversial. Now it's, hey, the same hardware that allows us to crunch ray tracing also allows us to train human identification models that allow us to more efficiently spy on you. Um, and that's not something you can really disentangle from all of this in the sense that where tech especially has been pushing, especially in the past, let's say 7 or 8 years, has been towards less service provision and more control of the supposed what used to be their client base. Now we're no longer really the main clients. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I can go buy a graphics card from NVIDIA, and NVIDIA will happily take my money and earn a profit. Um, but that is not the bulk of where tech's money comes from anymore. Um, the clients are massive corporations. It's B2B, it's governments, it's rich clients. Um, like, I can, my decision to buy or not buy the next version of Windows has nothing to
Does
do with
not.
the fact that federal governments all around the world all have contracts for Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Windows and a
Yep.
whole bunch of Azure tech. Um, and what they're efficiently selling to firms all around the world are ways to kind of control the population in certain ways, like tech that better surveils them, um, more sophisticated military tech and intelligence analysis. Um, these are the tools that are now at governments and corporations' disposal. Um, Similar to that, DLSS 5 isn't so much about what consumers want to see. It is about controlling the kinds of images that we end up seeing. This is not something that liberates us artistically or opens up possibilities. It's not like DLSS 1, which was, hey, you with your mid range graphics card, you can upscale and get a better looking image. It's not liberatory. A it is implanting the vision of what other people want us to see on top of something that we originally would have wanted to see and on top of what artists originally created. Um, in that sense, it is so much of a piece with all the other things that they're currently putting out into the world that are about controlling what we see, when we see it, and how we engage with it. Um,
A- and and then that becomes for Digital Foundry. Then this becomes also a thing. There's a different sort of parameter also of having an audience. Like if you went and you bought an Nvidia graphics card and that was what you did and you bought it, okay, you're one customer, you're like a drop in the barrel. Like maybe it's not something that like we can discuss, like, personal ethics is a whole thing. Like what, like if someone is like choosing to, obviously, for example with Microsoft, abide by the BDS boycott call and stuff, like, and not buy Microsoft products, that's one thing. But also if you're choosing to buy Microsoft products and you're just kind of like, you're buying them, you're a personal person, you do it, okay, like in a way, it's like, whatever, I can't control every decision that you do. As soon as you are saying we're basically selling it, because again, it was a very, like, yeah, they sort of note, okay, this might be a bit controversial, this thing, but there's no skepticism. There's this sort of, it feels like a video that is trying to say what Nvidia is trying to say, which is, this is awesome. Like, look at how good this looks. We are showing it off. There's a level of just the inherent demoing of the tech that is playing to what they want. And at that point, you have a large audience, and you're kind of unquestioningly playing what Nvidia wants to do. And like always, you should just
Probably.
ask. Yeah, and you should always ask, like, hey, what do they get out of this? Like, what does Nvidia get out of this? And again, that Nvidia, one of the things that they're getting out of stuff now is, again, their ties into surveillance tech and whatnot. And so again, it's like, yeah, this is just like, there's a lot of different parameters that change versus being a single consumer and being something that is an audience, and that has an audience, and especially being as unquestioning as they kind of were, because again, they said, maybe something's a bit weird here, and didn't press on that. You got to press, guys.
It's look, if they had pressed on that question, if they had shown some level of curiosity
Mm-hmm.
about where this came from and still came out saying, okay, we've looked into where this came from. We've thought about what kinds of data this was trained on. Um, and still came out saying, and we feel positively about it, that would be one thing. It's the seeming lack of investigative spirit and like a complete incuriousness about the tech, which is like a bizarre thing for a tech focused outlet to end up at.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you would expect them, of all people, like people who are supposedly experts in this area, to question
it
what
it
like
makes me think
algorithms
of
underlie this.
like whenever Adam Conover did that video like a while back that was like kind of breathlessly talking about like this AI company thing, and then it was like later he was like, yeah, I should have like done this thing. It's like, well, why are you saying this after? Like, why are you saying this after everyone yells at you that this sucks? Like, what, you needed to like ask questions. We've forgotten how to ask questions.
So I think the reason that situation's a little different is Adam Conover said, "Yes, I should have asked questions." Whereas their response to the backlash here, Digital Founders backlash, has not been, "Okay,
Oh
we
yeah,
should have
yeah,
asked
yeah.
questions." It's been, "We should have
We should
waited
have
to see what
waited.
you guys said." But like,
Yeah,
what do you mean we
that's
should
not
have
how
waited
this.
for
That's not
you?
how
Like,
this
you're
works.
the people were supposed to tell me stuff
It's
about how
the
this tech
it's the
works.
what the it's somewhere upstream of the drill tweet, the like turning a dial that says racism and looking back at the audience for approval. Of like it's you put up your review of a game and are like, now should I grade this an 8? Wait, you guys are kind of negative on it. 7.5. Oh, no, wait. There's a lot of people who are actually hyped for the game. So should I go like 8.5, 9?
Could you imagine if GameStop or sorry, GameSpot or Game Informer did that?
Yeah,
Like
like
they don't like that's not how they operate.
we should
It's
have we
not
should
how
have
any of this has ever operated.
do a written review and be like, we're gonna wait to put our actual. We just did a review of like telling you the specs, like telling you, oh, we did this, we encountered this few bugs. We'll wait until you guys get your hands on it to make a verdict of, was that fun? Did I have fun here? Did the story hit? Uh, uh.
Like
Again, this
I
is
know we
audience
clown
stuff.
on like lower quality reviews from certain outlets sometimes, but I don't know of a single outlet that would operate like that. Um, it's just such an absurd like excuse for behavior
Hmm.
um, that just kind of calls into question the entire integrity of the enterprise. Like at a certain point, you
Because
just need to stand behind your opinions.
what
And
like what happens next? Like are they gonna like what whenever they get another tech thing? Are they gonna do the same? Are they gonna be like? So what do y'all think? What you like it? You like it? Oh no, you don't like it. All right.
if you don't think you're qualified to comment on aesthetics, then don't. Digital Foundry still has value as a house that like counts pixels and measures frame rates.
Hmm.
Um, they can just do that. They're the ones who went outside of that lane and started talking about aesthetics and like reflections off materials and things like that, which are considerably more subjective. You don't want to get mired in those debates. You could always retreat to the objective. You could like a frame rate is an objective measure. It's one of the few things about video games that are objective.
Yes, it is
Um,
actually something that you can say. Well, this is this. Like this is this way.
and if you're so scared of having to stand behind an opinion, you have an out. Like you more than other outlets, Digital Foundry have an out. Like IGN or Kotaku does not have that same out, but you guys do. So I don't. It's absurd that they of all outlets would retreat to that. Um, yeah, that is DLSS 5. I don't know if there's anything else that we want to. There's a lot more we could discuss about this. I don't know if there's anything
I'm
else.
sure there is, but we have talked.
Yeah, I think we talked for an hour about DLSS 5. Um, very curious to see, like, just naively what would happen if you took an anime styled game, like, I don't know, you took Breath of the Wild or Monster Hunter
Well,
Stories.
I was gonna say Code Vein. Yeah, Monster Hunter Stories is a good one. Heck, what about
Yeah,
like do we think like do we think it would like do some stuff to like I don't know you throw Celeste in there? Does it Yasify Madeline? Does it like she needs
okay,
a
what would
little
it
bit?
do for a 2D game?
Yeah, like
Like, if I were to put in like okay, I'm playing a visual novel right now, which we're actually going to get to right after this. Um,
hey.
would they like can you
What about
Yassify a VN?
what about Fortnite? How does Fortnite look on this?
I feel like Fortnite's already Yassified in a way.
It's very ossified. That's why I'm curious, though. It's like such an
Like
already flattened sort of look. Like, is that the one that is? Would that be the one game that the DLSS 5 is actually like? Yeah, you know what? You
no,
nailed
we're
it.
good.
Yeah, I don't need to do nothing. It looks perfect.
Like Jensen Wong just comes out of your tower and pats you on the back and says, "Good job."
You know,
Um,
good call.
or or Fortnite starts to look like foam stars.
It makes it look like PUBG. It makes Fortnite look like PUBG and PUBG look like Fortnite.
So if you double apply DLSS, you just get Fortnite back. Is that how that
Yeah,
works?
yeah.
Okay. We should definitely try that. And we will try that after a
Cool.
short break. We will
After
all
our
will be
short
on.
break where we go and get so much money that we can buy the two computers needed to like run this thing so we can try it on our own.
Oh my
Uh
god. I'm trying to make a down payment on a house. I can't
yeah, right.
afford.
Like, my basement just had like a pipe like backup and stuff, and it's like, hey, you should really replace this before it like happens again. That's like, ooh, you guys are gonna have to drill through some concrete. That's not gonna be cheap.
It
Yeah, I'm not
will.
buying. I'm not gonna be able to Yassify all my little villagers and against the storm. Sorry guys. Sorry, all my beavers and bats and whatnot. You gotta look you gotta look plug ugly still.
Oh god, can you imagine yassifying Peeps in Roller Coaster Tycoon? What would that
Oh
even
my
mean?
god. Yeah,
Yassifying the cars in SimCity 2000? Like,
uh,
yassifying little blue rectangle? What does that even look like?
I would make a joke about like some of the civilization leaders, but I feel like sometimes the civ leaders they really did be like, yeah, we really ossified like
Oh yeah, like,
we ossified Queen Isabella. Like, yeah, that ain't, that ain't how she looked.
yeah, you're not really playing Cleopatra, you're playing a sexy Cleopatra, obviously.
Exactly. Like that's yeah. I mean, although the degrees to which they make Cleopatra sexy does like vary between games. Like Civ Revolution, which was the console one, oh, they just slapped like the most like she's a babe, rawr, like Cleopatra on. Like it was very obvious what sort of audience they were going for with like it of like the normie audience. That they were like, look, guys, we know you might not understand 4X and that scares you, but do you understand hot Egyptian woman, right?
Yeah, of course I do. That's why I've played. Actually, I've never played a Civ game. I think that's why I've played Revolutions. I can't even say it right. That's how you know I haven't played it.
Yep.
Um, but we will talk about tits out Civ games right after this break. See you
Yep.
soon. Hey, welcome back to the Avocado Games cast. I am here with Bloomed Wings, and we are talking about technology and whether or not we need it. Um, I would like to get a new PC at some point, but because of the actions of companies like Nvidia, uh, RAM costs a whole bunch, and I can't afford it. Uh, but you know what companies are trying to sell to me these days? Bigger, better TVs.
Blah. Blah.
I I like that sound effect because it's how I feel whenever someone tries to sell me a bigger, better TV. Like, I got a 1080p dumb Sony Bravia. It is not a smart TV, has no smart TV features. It just connects to stuff via HDMI and it just frickin' works. I've had this thing since uh like I bought it off my roommate when I like midway through grad school. So this thing dates back to before 2010, I think. And it's still going. It is not broken. It still works like a charm. I don't want to get rid of it. My parents have a much more recent 4K TV from Samsung. That thing's a piece of shit. Like, here's a list of the stupid things this TV does. The handshake with the cable system or the uh, doesn't work properly all the time. So you have to like unplug and then replug in, or turn the TV off, turn it back on, or turn off like the cable receiver and turn that back on. What other stupid things does it do? Oh, if you plug in a video game console, it automatically crops the image. And then if
Oh,
you turn off auto cropping and you play for another hour and a half or so, it'll just randomly start cropping the image again. And then you have to go manually turn off auto cropping. Um, yeah, motion smoothing is the least of this TV's sins. Also, sometimes the sound doesn't play. and then you have to turn the TV off or turn it back on or do that unplugging and plugging back in trick.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it connects to the internet, so that's a plus. Have you ever used the smart TV features on this thing? Have I ever updated its firmware? I don't think so. Have my parents ever done any of that? Probably not. They have no clue how their damn TV works.
It's almost like everything that you're already plugging into it, like that needs the internet, like just the internet, like just does it. Like
Oh, doubly so because they have Bell TV, they have Fibe. That's going through their frickin' router. So, yeah, it is very connected to the internet. Um,
yeah, because like I'm in a similar boat to you of like I have the 1081 and I'm like mentally because these are the type of things that occupy my brain. I want to say I we got it in 2012 because I feel like I know I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles on the TV that we had before then, which was this very small HD TV. Like if you remember, like the very small HD TVs that like I don't know, maybe your parents had in the room. That's how we had one at my like parents' house. Was like in my parents' bedroom and stuff. And we had one of those. And that was like how I played most of Xenoblade. And then we got like this 1081 from Costco, and it was nice and big and it was a great way to experience the ending of that and to later that year have the Wii U get hooked up to it. And that has been like the TV. Like we just have had that TV. And it works. Like you say, you plug in the thing, ta-da, it works. There we go. What? HDMI? Ah, I know what that is. I've got it. And so like, every now and then I'm like, okay, but would like a bigger display just help my vision a bit? Like as my eyes grow older, like would I have a better time with that? And I look, and at the same spot at Costco, it's all the smart ones, and it's all ones that's like, hey, this comes with like this AI integrate. Like a lot of them have AI integration thing, or it's like, hey, we have this, like all these services come with it. And I'm like, I don't want that.
okay,
I,
I
I
gotta ask, what type of AI integration? What is AI supposed to do in my TV?
I don't even know. Like I don't know. I mean, probably. I mean, well, okay. This wasn't a.
Frame
This has just been a
interpolation?
thing in
Like,
the because I think of like also the. I mean, the different thing, but like everyone has the jokes of like the big smart TVs and they do the motion smoothing thing, and it's like I do not want this. Like it makes everything look awful. Like whenever you have the like watching a movie with like on the motion smoothing TV, and it's like I don't want that. Like I'm looking up what now.
you're looking up what AI features these TVs have.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
What do they got?
I,
Samsung Vision AI smart TVs.
okay,
We're
I have.
redefining what screens can do, simplifying, enhancing, and empowering your daily experience.
Okay.
Ask your TV thing. Smarter Bixby answers. Just ask
I.
your TV.
Why is Bixby in my TV?
Live
Why?
translates. Okay, well, okay, but then break language barriers with Live Translate. On device AI detects the language of your content and instantly translates subtitles into your preferred language. Actually, again, constantly, I'm constantly saying this that this is the one thing that it doesn't need to be constantly on the internet. It shouldn't be constantly like burning. We've had translator things. We've had translator things for a while. Is the thing. We've had closed captioning even for a while. Oh, oh, hey, this TV can have generative wallpaper. Choose keywords for the ambiance you want and let AI work its magic. Your AI smart TV will generate beautiful, one of a kind images that can change the atmosphere of your home.
What happened to just having like a slideshow of photos with your family, which is what people do nowadays on their phone, or just turning your phone to the fireplace channel. What happened to that?
Samsung Vision AI makes your everyday content feel cinematic. AI Picture enhances resolution on your AI upscaling TV for breathtaking sharpness and detail. AI Sound fine-tunes the audio, delivering crystal clear dialogue and immersive sound, and AI Optimization intelligently adjusts settings to match your content and environment. I don't know what that
Oh
quite
no,
means.
it does not do that. It doesn't optimize settings. It just crops the fucking image. Oh man. What is this bullshit? Who's
What?
asking for this? How does this make anyone's lives better? Like, look, I get it. People in their 60s love motion smoothing. Um, like boomers love it when the image is at 60 FPS. I get it. But this goes way beyond motion smoothing. This is just crap nobody asked for.
Well,
And
the weird thing with that also is like we've talked about like um how we talked about like the realism aspect of like trying to make things look more realistic. We don't see like things moving in a smooth 60 FPS. Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't that's not how
mods
our
and
eyes.
codes don't have frame rates.
Yeah, like we don't see when a like it's why people look on it's like why there's constantly uncanny movement in video games is because it's like, well, that's not like how people move technically is like the way our eyes process them.
Yeah.
Uh
The other thing I'll say is about audio processing. It's wild that audio mixing has gotten so bad that you can sell people a solution to
yeah,
unfuck
right.
fucked up audio.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, this is also like in large part Netflix's fault for just having the most dog shit audio mix of any streaming service, and Netflix being so popular that
It
like
it is
you
so
have an
funny
like
to
un-Netflifying filter on your audio
yeah,
that you can actually sell that to people.
it is so funny to like I love horror movies and like when I watch like a new one, I usually have to be like, well, I guess especially if I'm watching it with my partner, like we're gonna turn the subtitles on. But I just don't like having like I don't like constantly having to read the subtitles when I can understand it. If I can't I like subs for foreign things because then it's like my brain isn't processing like what they're saying necessarily. Like my brain is processing the subtitles, but it's whenever like there's subtitles and people are saying stuff and it's like, okay, but you're saying it at a different pace than my mind is reading it. But that's what I but like you go back to old movies and like I'll watch an old movie and it's like, oh, this looks great. Oh, this sounds great. Everyone's talking and like I can hear the conversation. Look at the lighting. Oh, the night scene, it looks like it's night, but it's also actually well lit. That's crazy. How do we advance technology to get, 30 years prior?
Um, I don't know. It seems like maybe, maybe Samsung can just look at what Sony was doing 20 years ago and just copy that.
This is bold. This is bold thinking.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does, and it's funny that like a lot of it does come down to that a lot of the things that they moved away from are like things that were theoretically to make production smoother, but it results in a worse product. Like sound editing and microphone placement and stuff. That basically like, now if you don't have to worry about microphone placement, then it frees up the way to film it, but it also does result in just a less authentic sound and something that can sort of be slapped. There's just a lot to get into with that of like how are we making things now and how much whenever you were filming something that was using live mics on the set and also was using film that you couldn't just slap together edits that it was like you had to make takes count because you were using film.
Yeah, nowadays, in terms of storage, reshoots are cheap. I mean, obviously not in terms of time and effort,
Yeah.
but no one's like running out of hard disk space filming a movie anymore.
Hmm.
Um, like, and you see this a lot with um, like mathematical modeling and the advances that have led to generative AI. To again bring it back to that, um, I remember sitting at dinner with some like old professors back when I was in grad school, and one of them said regressions used to be expensive because like way back in the day, you guys used to have to calculate those by hand, and then you'd pay some undergrad uh, like a month's salary to invert a gigantic matrix for you. And then eventually they got mainframes, but then you had limited mainframe time, and those things had like like memory that you could count in the kilobytes. So you really need to be clever how you program things, and you need to make regressions count because there's a big queue of scientists behind you who also need to run regressions or program code or whatever, or run simulations or what have you. Um, Nowadays, hey, you don't like your statistical model? Just run another one. 5 seconds later, you have an answer. Um, and so this is kind of, um, I mean, to be fair, these computing advances have enabled a lot of stuff. I like to tell my dad, who did a lot of his master's thesis on like mainframes, um, literally could not have written my doctoral thesis uh, 30 years earlier than I wrote it because the computing tech didn't exist to do it. And I wasn't doing anything super advanced. It was just like the optimization algorithms I was running just wouldn't have been possible to execute. Um, Also goes for like generative AI models. Computing tech has enabled them, but it's also made training these models and estimating their parameters way, way, way cheaper than anyone could have ever imagined back in the day. Um, and in some sense, like the fact that generating a prediction from these models or like Gen AI output is so cheap is what enables the proliferation of slop. Training those
Hmm.
models, we know it's expensive because we're training them on corpus, sorry, not corpuses, that's not the proper plural, corpora, sorry, of billions of data points. Um, but yes, these corpora are huge and training them takes a long time. Once you've trained them, output is real cheap. And so generating slop is super duper cheap. And like you mentioned earlier, that like higher ups will kind of push Gen AI solutions and be like, "Oh, we've got Gen AI that can fix this or do this or do that." Um, and it's not because they necessarily have experience running the tech. Like you can't go to your boss's boss and say, "Hey, have you ever actually tried to apply this Gen AI model to do what you're asking me to do?" Because obviously not. But to them, it's so cheap and easy to do that even if it fails, whatever, you didn't waste your time.
Yeah.
You harness the power of Gen AI, and you did it quick and cheap. I wonder, like, do we need to make slop generation in some ways more expensive and less subsidized to like reduce the proliferation of slop? Like, what if Samsung actually had to pay the true cost of applying Gen AI in your TV? Um, would they still sell you a slop TV, or would they get back to fundamentals and make something like a Sony Bravia from 20 years ago that actually fucking works?
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I mean, the real thing is like my concern is that the slop generation is going to that it is going to start at some point charging for it, but that's not going to be on them. You know what I mean? Like
It's
as we get to the point where it's like, well, this is the way you make this is the way you make art for your restaurant. This is the way you advertise your restaurant is you make an AI image. You do not have a graphic designer hired. You don't have people who do that for a living and the software ready to do it. This is just the way you have to do this. Now we're going to offset the cost of this by making it be that you have to pay more of a licensing fee for it. And you have no choice because we've taken away your ability to even make your own
It,
images through like and distribute them.
it's kind of the apocryphal drug dealer model, like the first hit is free. That's not how drug
Yeah.
dealers actually operate, by the way.
No,
But like
no.
but that is how they operate in the popular consciousness, right? That, oh yeah, the first is free, now you're addicted, now you have to eat at the slop trough, you have no other choice.
Yep.
um this is literally the model that they're implementing, where yeah, it's super cheap now, and the hope is we'll all become AI addicted and won't know how to think without it. And once we're dependent on it, then they stop subsidizing it. They make us pay the true cost that it takes to run this shit. And then we're fucking screwed. We're just paying out the nose to run a like garbage facsimile of what we used to pay a human being to do and do pretty well. Um, so yeah, that's where this stuff is headed. Um,
Whee!
I know, it's exciting. Um, Speaking of things that are a little bit less depressing, we've been actually playing video games, not just staring at photos of Yassified race from Resident Evil. Um, we did mention earlier what would happen if you tried to Yassify a 2D game. And I have been playing a 2D game. I've been playing a visual novel called Path of Mystery, A Brush with Death. Have you heard of this one?
I have not, but it's the most like it's a very intriguing sounding title. You know what I mean? Like it's like, ooh, a brush with death? Tell me more.
Yeah. Usually you think of a brush with death as being like getting close to death but surviving. Like, oh, your car almost hurtled off that bridge, but yeah, you steered away from the railing at the last second. In this case, the death is very literal. Someone fucking died, man. Um, and it's a pun because the victim was a painter. In
There we
fact,
go.
a celebrity painter, um, who lived in a fictional tourist town in Japan called Narumizawa. And the premise is that a group of university students in a quote unquote mystery research club travel to this town on break, to investigate this man's death that happened 30 years ago. Um, why is it a cold case? Well, it was kind of declared solved because the prime suspect was his wife, but then she died by suicide a few days after his death. So the police just closed the case, as the cops are wont to do, right? Cops, useful for so much. Um, there's also a plot about a serial killer that's kind of simmering in the background. Um, and I'm making this game sound way darker than it actually is. It's actually pretty lighthearted, all things considered. A lot of like very high school anime tropey kind of humor, um, that pervades the experience. These characters are in university, but they act like they're 12 years old. Um, like you've watched anime, Cindy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know the tropes. So if you would not be surprised if I told you that the primary female character was a tsundere, right? You'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense for this kind of game.
She's got a crush, but she don't want to say it.
Um, I will say it's not clear that she has a crush, but she's very much like the whole "I'm annoyed by everyone, but really I do feel very deeply" kind of person. Um, then, would it surprise you to learn that the main sidekick dude hits on women a lot.
What? No way.
Yeah, surprisingly, a
Man, can't believe that.
very objectifying dude who really needs like a talking to or a few slaps in the face, maybe a drink in the face.
Okay, but
Um,
like also like that whenever we say this, like a good slap in the face that actually fixes him, because I feel like constantly in the like anime thing, it's like, oh, you pervert, slap in the face, but then it's still like, yeah, you're still allowed to hang out with us though. Like
oh yeah, like he needs to be ostracized from the group.
exactly. Like it's always it's comedic how they get slapped in the face, but then they don't ever learn their lesson. What a scamp.
Oh
I
yeah,
am
oh that rascal who peers through keyholes at girls changing.
uh-huh.
Oh, boys will be boys. I will say he doesn't peer through keyholes, but he
That's at
does
least
just like constantly like obsess about seeing cute girls and like has a crush on his professor and uses the han honorific to refer to his female professor who is hot. Um, yeah, I don't think you do that. I think that's a sensei or a san, not a chan. Um, but that's what this guy does. And would it also surprise you to learn that the fourth character in this group, I haven't talked about the protagonist yet, but the fourth character in this group is a rich boy who is very self-important and looks down upon everyone else and has an inflated sense of his abilities.
mm.
Never seen that one before, right? Um,
Now is this the
I
like now is this the kind of like the real cold version of that? And it's like almost like he's there because they're in the same class? Or is this like it's a bit of a jerk, but like he's still friends with them? There's a little bit of a heart of gold under there.
no heart of gold whatsoever, but he's
Mm.
not cold. He's just extraordinarily pompous and condescending.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it is just like an utter piece of shit, just in general. Um, but it's all played for laughs. And your protagonist. Um, would it surprise you to learn that the protagonist is the most sauceless man you have ever met and has regular ass brown hair bowl cut?
Oh, that's okay. That's look. I thought it could go the other way of the like, not necessarily sauceless, but the like, just the slightly,
Oh, the tool cool for school kind of spiky haired dude.
yeah. The like
Yeah.
but no, yeah, we're going like Persona
We're
MC.
going harem protag route right now.
Yeah, we're going
This
yeah.
is not a harem game, but we've got a harem protagonist on hand. Um, like, if you were to look up a screenshot of this dude, I'll put it in the link dump if I can find one. Um, you would say, "Oh man, there is zero juice here. There's zero flavor. This is like chicken soup without the herbs. It's like noodles without pasta sauce. That's what this guy is.
Plain noodle boy.
Complete. Yeah, he's he's noodle boy. He's noodle boy. That's what he is. Um, so these characters all just fucking suck, which is a shame because I think the premise of this game is actually really interesting. Um, the mechanic here is that the protagonist has a power that calls retrocognition. So at certain unpredictable times, an important object will show up with a purple hue. And if he touches that object, time slows and he gets projected into the past. And sees things from the perspective of someone who was around that object in the past. And the way this is mechanically implemented in the game is that it switches from a visual novel to like a retro console ADV. So it's like investigate and then a list of things to investigate, or then like do actions and a list of things to do actions on. Um, Super old school, and even has kind of the more pixel art graphics um, to suit the mechanics. And then once you get out of the sequences, you go back to your kind of regular visual novel, quasi Ace Attorney style gameplay. So really neat gameplay, ludic setup, really neat premise. Um, but the execution in terms of the writing, like the dialogue and the characters, is just so tropey. And especially coming off having played Paranormal Sight, which was Paranormal Sight: The Mermaid's Curse, the second Paranormal Sight game, which was brilliantly written
So there's
and
a so now there's a paranormal para a pair of paranormal sites. Yeah.
a parallel, if you will, to Paranormal Sight. Um, yeah, especially having come off Paranormal Sight, which was brilliant. The quality of writing here in terms of the dialogue just leaves so much to be desired, and it just I want I want to give this game a real shot, and I don't I want to kind of evaluate it on its own terms, but it's so hard when I've played something so good just before. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna stick with it just because I'm curious about where the mystery's going. I think it is actually a really interestingly set up mystery. Um, like this guy was found with a paintbrush stabbed in his back. That's cool. We need more like elaborately staged murders. Um, but
The
yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
and like whenever you like saying like I realize what it is that like a brush with death like reminds me of, and it sounds like the title it sounds like the title of a Columbo episode with a murder artist. Like this is just how like Columbo episodes are titled, is like it's always like some sort of pun depending on like the profession of either the killer or the killie. Um
This
and
this
it's
game does. So go ahead.
and so that sort of like pulpy like that's what the title like sounds like, is like a very pulp novel like that you'd see maybe flashing on the front of like a detective comics or whatever. And so then having this like very, I have to add, is the retro thing the what was it called, retro cognition or something?
Yeah,
Is it, what's the parameters of this in like the universe? Like does he know where it came from? Do his friends know that he has it? Like, or does he space out for a bit and they're like, "Are you okay, buddy?" Like,
it's that he spaces out for a bit because like time passes way slower.
slower, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it's like he's spacing out for 5 seconds while he's touching this thing, and his eyes like roll into the back of his head. The only person who knows he has these powers is his younger sister, who,
Mm.
by the way, is, you guessed it,
Oh
an
no.
emo trope. Um, but yeah, nobody except his sister knows he has these powers, and he doesn't know where they came from. Um, I'm guessing part of the plot will be him finding out
I
where
was
it
gonna
came
say
from.
this is either a like then the plot is like has to do with it, or I guess if it's a mystery, usually that does mean that this is a thing that gets like solved in the plot because like of like, or it ties in or whatever. Shoot, like what?
Like
I
Danganronpa games are really good at this, right? Where there is like the premise turns out to be part of the mystery, and then that kind of plays out towards the end, even though there are other mysteries along the way.
yeah.
Um, or I think of this is not a game that a lot of people played. Root Film from a few years ago.
Yeah, that one's
Um,
been on my wish list for a while since you actually I forget, did I buy it maybe even? I forget if I bought it. But I know it was like it's not on on Steam or anything, but it was on Switch, I remember.
yeah, it was. That's where I played it, and the interesting thing about Root Film is it seems like it's a bunch of unrelated murders and crimes, but then everything sort of dovetails towards the end in a really interesting way, and then certain murder investigations get recontextualized. Um, and like along the way, it's not always the highest quality game. Like it didn't make my top 10 the year it came out, but there is this kind of cleverness that doesn't really appear towards the end. And I get the sense that this is where this game is heading as well, because there is another subplot about the serial killer that I think is probably going to turn out to be linked to the retrocognition and maybe even the painter in some way. This is all going to dovetail at the end, because this game was not very widely reviewed, but it did review very well. So
Mm.
I'm wondering if it's is the kind of thing where once everything comes together at the end,
You go,
um,
oh shoot, this like rules actually.
yeah, this kind of rules is really clever, and then the memory of the characters being really, really annoying near the beginning of the game kind of fades away. Um, that's where I think this is probably heading. Also, it's interesting you bring up Columbo because this game has a lot of that Columbo energy. Columbo's really good at cornering people
Yeah.
through questioning. So the thing about retrocognition is because this guy, the character's main character's name is Dopo, because Dopo can't admit he has retrocognition. He has to kind of interrogate suspects in a clever way that doesn't give away his power. It has a little bit of that Columbo energy of like being really perceptive, but his ability to perceive comes from having observed things in the past.
And yeah, I think of another example of that is Ryan Johnson's very much like homage to Columbo after Knives Out of Poker Face, and that the whole the central like conceit of that is that Natasha Lyonne's character Charlie, like she can always tell when someone's lying. No one can ever lie to her. Or they can lie to her, but she knows that like bullshit is her like catchphrase. But the thing is that she's just a person. So like she can know. Oh, look, she could hear someone say, "Oh, I didn't kill him," and know, oh, he's lying whenever he says he didn't kill this guy. What does she do? She needs the evidence. Like she can't just say, "Well, I know he's lying." Like that's not a thing that like you can't go to the cops and be like, "Well,
Yeah,
trust me,
not admissible in court.
I always know." And also like, and she can't confront them directly because she's just a person and this is a murderer. And so like she can't be like, "Hey you, I know you murdered him and I'm going to go to the cops," because then that's a very fast ticket to being the second murder. That's how in every Columbo, if in a Columbo episode the like the secretary or whatever comes to the villain, the murderer, and is like, "Hey, I couldn't help but notice this thing." It's like, oh no, hon, you're about to be murdered. You're about to be murder number two now. Like, don't try and blackmail the murderer. Don't do it. And so, like, I can see how that's like a similar thing here of like, oh, like you can go back and do retro game stuff and play things, but that doesn't necessarily, you can't then come back to reality and be like, well, that guy did it.
Yeah, that is what's really clever about this, and why I think there's something here. Why I don't want to dismiss it out of hand. So I'm gonna keep playing. I'll see where it goes. I have
How's
a
the like
tendency.
how's
Go
it
ahead.
look? Like how's the art for it like kind of look?
Um, Pretty generic, like
Okay.
modern VN art.
Yeah.
Um, like there's nothing very um notable about the style.
No, like
It doesn't
crazy color schemes or anything.
No, but where it does really shine is the title cards. So this is structured almost like an anime series. Each chapter starts with a cold open, and then like the theme, and then there's a credit sequence at the end of every chapter.
Oh, that's
Um,
fun.
yeah, and every chapter ends with a trailer for the next one, and the trailer's like semi-comedic, like a lot of 30-second trailer spots at the end of anime episodes are.
Yeah, where especially sometimes they'll have a random, like some random character is like narrating it,
Yeah,
like next time, oh, this is what's gonna happen next time.
yeah. It's exactly like that. Like, oh, the main character is going to get into a sticky situation with bees, and then you're like, oh, where are the bees going to come from? The bees are like a tiny part of the chapter. There are no bees in this game. I don't know why my head went to bees, but you know what I mean. It's that kind
Yeah,
of thing. Um, and as for like the title sequence, it's done in kind of a I don't know how to describe this because I'm not an art student, um, but you know when they do things kind of in almost like in silhouette with like no features on the face, and then like solid colors and an emphasis on geometric shapes,
yeah,
and
like sort of silhouette, like or like or even shadow. Um,
yeah. So they do this with a mixture of like different shades of orange and blue, and it's very like a it's very pop art and very non-anime. Um,
yeah,
that what they use for the title sequence, and it's really good. Um,
because especially like orange and blue. I mean, orange and blue are very like fun because I mean this is like the bit of art stuff of like it's contrasting colors that orange is red and yellow, so of the primary colors it's missing blue, so they stand out against each other.
yeah.
And but like you don't really see that like in like reality that much. Like even like probably the most prominent orange thing that I think of is like a sunset, but whenever the sun's setting the whole sky kind of gets orange, it's not like really blue, so it's like a very unnatural combination of things, which like I could see how that's, which again, like you said, is a very pop art type thing of like it's
And
striking
that, like
and
heavy
evoking.
contrast.
Yeah, it's a very
Uh,
heavy contrast in it, and it does not to go way back of it is not evoking realism. It is very distinctly not being realistic,
oh
and
yeah. Um, did you play this game came out, oh God, how many years ago now? Probably maybe even a decade ago. A Case
oh
of
god,
Distrust.
Ace of Distrust doesn't even sound familiar.
Um, so it had that whole game was that kind of silhouetted art style with very bold
Mm,
colors. Um, so imagine taking that, but replace the serif fonts with sans serif fonts, and that would give you the aesthetic of these title sequences.
mm.
Um, yeah. So, but otherwise, the art style is very kind of like generic anime. It doesn't even have like kind of the more bold lines that you'd see in something like Root Film. Uh, so
And like
like
coloring, I'm assuming is kind of the like normal bright, like nothing, like
it's high school anime coloring.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yep, yep.
it's just I wish there was something more notable about the art style because there's so much you can do with VNs. Like even Root Film has very distinct line work in the characters. You don't even get that here. It's very indistinct, very generic line work. Um, it's not like Danganronpa, which does like the bold, almost like
Yeah, because
puppet
like I
style
think
thing.
that's coming to mind of like the Danganronpa, the 100 Year Line
Underline,
Academy, was that? Yeah, like that.
underline Last Defense Academy. Yeah.
Yeah, that one like I know how that game looks. Like I can recognize characters from it because it uses that the very thick lines for everything, for like shaping the eyes, shaping the mouth, shaping the nose, everything, like faces. It's all that there. Then again, there are like ways to do a very distinctive art style, and there are also a lot where there is a sort of closer to mass produced
Yeah.
look in a way.
Yeah, I believe the artists on Danganronpa and Last Defense Academy is what's their name? Ryuki
Yeah,
Matsunaki, I think their name is. Um,
sounds right.
yeah. Um, I think that's right. We can look it up for the link dump. But that art is so distinctive, and it's just across all of Kodaka's games. And I understand why. Like, if you have a style that works that well, yeah, go ahead and use it. Um, yeah, unfortunately, it's very generic. If they trade DLSS 5 on anime, this is what it would produce. Unfortunately, but I will say, unlike a lot of VNs, they actually animate the mouth movements in the characters, and that mouth movement animation is actually really well done. So
Oh, interesting. Like it's yeah, like it's good. That's neat.
yeah, it's not just
Like
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 the
you like
lips
you like you
flapping.
like you said they animate the mouths, and I was like, oh, this could be really bad.
Yeah, it's not just animated lip flaps. It's actually pretty well synced to the dialogue. I don't know if they. It almost gives the impression that they recorded dialogue first and then animated the mouth movements, which is the opposite of how anime is usually done.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, um, interesting game. Intrigued to see where it goes. What have you been playing?
Um, let's see. Okay. I guess actually for like thinking of like sort of almost on like what you're saying of like this sort of mysterious thing and like some weird stuff going on. I actually think of I wrote a bit about this like a little bit ago, but I've still been playing through it. It's a run-based deck builder called the Spirit Lift. Um,
I've not heard of this one.
it is so the central conceit of it is that it takes place at a high school graduation in the year 98, and three students, you choose three students at the start of your run. They wander off from like the graduation party, and they find a mysterious elevator that you go up through 13 floors of a hotel, and they're creepy, like very like classic-y sort of like 90s, especially like epitome of what would be a scary thing. So like you first go through and you randomly fight bosses, but then you can actually choose which boss you are like gunning to take down. So and you
This
go through
is
this and you go through this with like very standard, like if people aren't familiar with a run-based deck builders, like Slay the Spire is maybe the most well-known one. You're going through and you get into battles and you have a deck of cards, and cards will draw in battle and you expend energy to do actions. And a big aspect then that makes deck builders interesting then is there's that randomness to the draw, but also you have as such some control of what your deck is. So you can get there's a level of sometimes like skipping a card. One of the biggest things that a lot of people will learn early for run based deck builders is that sometimes you might find a card that sounds good, it sounds strong, but it is also introducing one more card into your shuffle and therefore increasing the like the probability changes like of drawing the card that you need.
yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
okay. So like, um, yeah, because a lot of people fall into that trap where it's all like they've discarded the lower quality cards from their deck.
mhm,
Um, so what happens is you're not just reducing the probability of drawing the lower quality card. You're also reducing the probability of uh, drawing the higher quality cards you already had that you really continue to need.
yep. And so and so again, the way that this is then framed is that you're going. around floors, and you're opening doors to hotel rooms and trying to find the elevator again. Basically, you leave the elevator and then you need to find the elevator again to go up a floor. And what could be behind doors could be like rewards, or it could be battles. And usually, another thing that makes run-based deck builders work is a level of attrition, where a battle will usually, you might win a battle, but it may be dealt like 20 damage to you, and healing is healing opportunities are few and far between usually in these things. So what you're trying to do is optimize your battles, because if you just run through it and don't think, then you might take unnecessary damage that you're going to regret later. Which especially comes in that each of these floors, again, you end up fighting a boss, and they are very like slightly goofy, but like just the right level of creepy, like horror villains. So like the first one is Sporacula, that there's a whole bunch of like mushrooms, a vampiric strain of mushrooms like has infested the hotel in this version, and you get to like the head spore thing, like and it's like sleeping in a coffin vampire style. Then you have like a creepy woman in a mirror, a like spider woman, and a psycho killer clown. Like these are like the bosses that you're gonna fight. And so you go through, and again you pick 3 of these students at the start. And they're embodying a lot of tropes. Like there's a lot of the way they talk is very uh so like there's I think Tobias is like a jock, and he like, will be like, oh man, I was hoping to find some pizza like on the floor, or on like whenever you like find a thing, like he's thinking about food and whatnot. He's not exactly the brightest bulb out there. There's the tennis player Sako, who she is like determined to win. She's like, I'm not like, yeah, she is hyper competitive. She is winning is everything. There's the very nervous film nerd Quentin, and there's like the slacker stoner kid Oliver, who like and it's all these very big tropes, these well-known tropes, but they're very much helped by they have great like designs. Like their designs, like the character design in this game is some of my favorite. Like you have ones like Sako and Tobias are like very understated, but like that's kind of what works with them, because they're very simple like as people. But then you have like more complicated people like Briar, who is a sort of she's a goth like artist, and she has like a lot going on with her design. But in,
Oh,
again,
I'm
the way
looking
we're
at
like,
it right now. I'm looking
yeah,
at screenshots of this. She's got the 2 buns on the side of her head.
yep,
She's got kind of like an Alice in Wonderland dress almost, but with like fishnets, and it's all in purples instead of blues.
yep, she's got like the purple lipstick, like it, like she's, again, yeah, she's very much like, there's a lot of work that clearly has gone into layering her, and that she has done to herself, and that's one of this game's biggest draws. And the other thing is, like, as you keep playing, because I think the thing that puts a lot of people off for the idea of getting into run based games is just how there can be a lot of repetition for them, especially like if you lose a run, then it's back to the start and you have to do it again. And so games finding the way to make that repetition interesting is sometimes a challenge. And for the Spirit Lift, a big thing of that is, again, you're choosing 3 of them at the start. They each have different like attributes. There's 8 students, and there are 4 categories. There's like the jock category, the spiritual, which is like Briar, and the emo kid Garnett. There is what is the one, like tech nerds, which is Indy, who's like a gamer, and Quentin, the film nerd. And then there's the like shoot, I'm trying to remember what they call it. It's like
Preps.
What?
That's what the
Yeah,
that's what,
yeah, kind of like yeah. That there's like the Maria who's like the class president type,
oh
and
yeah, I can see that with
yeah,
she's got the
and meanwhile Oliver who's like just the class in a way the like the class clown, the slacker, but also like and so and like they're a bit more based on in some ways some randomness. Like there's a level of a little bit more RNG to some of their stuff than like the others.
sorry, I'm
So you
laughing
pick
at
the
something right now. I'm seeing Briar's weapon is a palette knife, which is
yes, she has.
also the name of an emo band.
Oh,
Um,
nice. I actually that I mean, look, that might be a legit like. I
like a
mean,
legit reference.
it could be a legit reference. Could just be because that is what it is, and that's where the band name comes from. Who knows?
I assume the band predates the game because
Well,
they've
the
been
band definitely predates the game, but like the name of the thing, like, but that is a thing. The palette knife is like a thing and stuff.
it could
Um,
be. Um,
but whatever the case, so there's that level of like variety of like you're going in and you can choose any combination of them, and that can kind of change your play style. And I'll get to like where this game has gone for me because that's actually a very key thing as well with how I think this game works. But the other thing is like they also are constantly like they'll have little conversations and little bits of like it's always very small. If there's one thing that I'm a bit disappointed by, it's that like there's never any conversations or banter that is dependent on the three people in your group. It is always an interchange between two of your three people. So like there isn't any unique dialogue for say having Tobias, Briar, and Garnet all together. You will get Briar and Tobias stuff. You'll get Briar and Garnet stuff. You will get a lot of that, and you'll get Garnet and Tobias, but not like anything involving all three. But they still have like these moments where on the elevator ride up, for example, Tobias will just say, like, I've got a sister. How about you guys? Like, it's like this awkward elevator talk, but then it gives us like who's a sibling and stuff. Like, some people are like, I'm an only child, and Oliver's like, get this, I'm the youngest of seven. And it's like all these little things, and there's a lot that it works with them going through and just fleshing these guys out that yes they are very tropey, but sometimes that's like sometimes that's the good stuff in that there is a lot of potential shipping material here, which is tasty. Like Maria is friends with both Oliver and Quentin, and both of them have crushes on her. Like they're all three of them are friends, but both of them have like crushes on her and stuff. um Garnet and Briar are like there is a lot of good lesbian like there's some real Yuri energy going on there. Like one quote I remember is like you get in the elevator and Briar will say, "Oh, you're hurt, let me see." And if Garnet's there, then Garnet says, "Wow, your hands are soft." Dot dot dot.
oh yeah,
it is it is
that
like
is like Yuri 101 right there.
and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, this is interesting.
Oh, we're going queer weird. Okay.
So then it's like then it does create like levels of like ooh I want to see them do this. And there actually is there's a random event that I stumbled on that it needed Briar to do it, and it was like okay Briar's there, and then she's like I can get this thing. And then it was like, okay, you have her in your group. And she's like, oh man, I can't reach it though. And then it had two responses, but one of them was grayed out with the words needs Garnet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'd had these two together, then there would have been some real gay stuff.
There would have been a Yuri moment. Oh
Exactly.
no.
Like, I don't know if she would have given her a boost or like Garnet or Briar would have like fallen and been caught by Garnet. I don't know what's going to happen, but like, now I gotta stumble on this random event again with them. But the
Yeah.
other reason, besides the shipping bait to like bring people, is so like you can you can target which boss you're going for, and there's a lot of in a lot of the run-based games, you don't know what you're getting into when you go into a run, and sometimes you don't even know what you're getting into as you like go through it. So I think of like Monster Train and Monster Train 2, for example. You will start a run and it will show you. You can look at the info screen and see what bosses you're going to go up against and what versions they are. So like you can even see the final boss is this one and start planning your deck accordingly. But like ones like Slay the Spire will have that Slay the Spire. You don't know what the bosses are until like you hit the act that they're in, which can really you can spend the first two acts like building up a strategy, and then you get to the third act and whatever boss is there is like going to wreck your strat. Since with the Spirit Lift though, you can choose the boss and choose the thing or your party. You can very much optimize to like I'm targeting this boss. I know, for example, they put a lot of trauma cards, but trauma is countered by purify. So I want to run a purify deck, and I'm going to then take Briar has purify. I think Sako, I want to say, has a way to build up purify. So you can very much like strategize from the selection screen. And where this really works for me is that it makes me think of how a lot of horror movies, especially like older slasher movies, have the moment where in the third act the tables kind of get turned. Like I think of in the first Nightmare on Elm Street that Nancy like starts booby trapping her house. Like she gets traps ready for Freddy, and the whole point is that they're going to they have a plan to drag him out of the dream world and into the real world, and then they will kill him there. Like it is the turnaround all of a sudden at the end. In the end of Scream, there's the bit where all of a sudden Sydney is getting like has managed to hide and is using the whole and is using like Ghostface's own tricks against him and stuff. And so that's very much like whenever you're first going through these runs, there's a level of I don't know what I'm expecting. I can just get completely wrecked by one random battle. But then like now I'm doing runs and I'll be like, okay, I want to take down Scoops the Clown. I know kind of what he is going to pull out, and I will prepare myself accordingly and stuff. And it's it's in some ways like I guess the commonly used word in gaming that I think of is accessible way,
Okay.
where I think like again a lot of people bounce off of run based games because it's like, oh, but I die and I lose everything, and it's like, okay, but what if you got to the point where actually the boss is in my house now and stuff, and that's where it's really working for me. Like I still have to see how far like I will get in because there are a lot of team combinations. Like if you think about it, like there's again 8 kids and you bring
56.
3. Yeah.
It's eight choose 3 56.
Yeah. Yep. So like beating the game, like one of the like things to wrap up everything is to have beaten the game with every team combination. That's a lot, but it's also one of those things where like I'm just gonna chip away at it. Like I'm not going in there and being like I need to like grind this out. I'm gonna devote nothing but my time in the Spirit Lift. It's more like, okay, you know what? I feel like I've got the
Yeah, I
deck.
could do a run.
Yeah, exactly. I could do a run, and then a run takes 30 minutes, 40 minutes now, like because like they took a lot longer when I was first learning it, but now I'm like, okay, I know all the mechanics. I know what all these things do. I know what purify and detect are. Like I don't need to really consult stuff, and I'll just chip away at this. I'll get these and see if hey, can I get some more shipping going? Can I get some? Can I find more secrets? Like, can I solve this riddle? Because there's sometimes like some of the events will be like a riddle that it is legitimately asking you, but like one of them, it has the option, it gives you all the options for like what you could guess to solve the riddle. Or if you have Indy the gamer in your group, you can just, there's just the have Indy solve it thing.
That's good.
it, it's very good. It's very neat. And it's like, that's like, again, another thing also is like, there will be random events where it literally, it's not tailoring them to your party. It's that sometimes you'll walk into a room and it's like, if you had Briar with you, you'd be able to nurture these mushrooms, but instead you're going to have to do a fight because you don't have her with you. That's just the downside. Again,
Yeah.
3 out of 8.
That's good, like character ability stuff. Like they're actually
Yep.
making the character choices meaningful in a way. Um, so I have a couple of thoughts on this. One is, like you mentioned, it's a little disappointing that all the well, you have teams of three, all the interaction is in pairs. I think that's probably just a resources thing because if you had to,
That's yeah.
yeah, if you had to program or like create three-way interactions, that's upping you from 28 interactions you have to program to 56. So you're
Yeah.
doubling the number of like things of dialogue you have to write. So I get why they did it the way they did, even if it's a little disappointing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like yeah, there's a level where I'm not like, oh man, come on, you should have done this. It's more like, I wish this wasn't here, but like I get it.
Yeah, like if this were like a huge AAA project, it'd be like, not up and pay for it, right? But
Yeah.
for an indie project, it'd be like, okay, yeah, I see what you were going for. Um, then like the other interesting thing is it seems like there's a lot of this almost sounds like Stranger Things meets Luigi's Mansion 3. I don't know if that's like the vibes at all, but like the idea of going up a, a haunted building through different floors and fighting the monsters we're in, and the bosses are kind of goofy. That's a little Luigi's Mansion, kind of.
It almost it almost reminds me, like I think of, I really get reminded of like theme park horror stuff.
Yeah,
Like the tower of, like the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror from in the Universal. I think that one is it.
it's
Or
a Disney World.
yeah, it's a yeah. And stuff like that where it's like, it's horror-y, but also like, you're here to have a good time. Like, come on. Come on. We're here. Well, let's have some fun with this. And again, much like you said, Luigi's Mansion as a result of that. Of like Luigi's
Yeah,
Mansion. It's very funny, like having now played, like I played through the original Resident Evil 3 recently, and really having that comparison of like, no, yeah, Luigi's Mansion games are Nintendo's take on a Resident Evil. Like, you go, you get a key, you have to backtrack with the key. Like, you go through this sort of slow paced walking around. If they had given Luigi tank controls, it just would have been like, okay, yeah, this is just Nintendo making Resident Evil.
this is kind of the Nintendo approach to making stuff, right? Is to put a pretty big twist on a pre-established genre, like um Metroid Prime is essentially the Nintendo take on like the sci-fi shooter, or Splatoon being their take on like the third-person multiplayer shooter. Um, this is kind of their MO, where Pikmin being their take on real-time strategy. It's always about like tweaking something in ways that make it almost unrecognizable, but when you scratch a little bit beneath the surface, you kind of get back the fundamentals that they're basing it off of. Um,
And
and
that's
like that's not
where,
a bad approach. So go ahead.
no, and it's also, again, how I think the Spirit Lift is really like, it works to me is that it is taking this horror aesthetic, and there's enough that I think it mechanically binds the idea of horror in, where like, again, you have to explore, and So like sometimes you're going to be low on health and you're going to be looking for that one room where the elevator is, and you're kind of going to be praying, I hope that I find the elevator in this next room and not another random encounter, because especially like the penultimate floor, some of the random encounters on the penultimate floor will just like absolutely like like yep, just like, oh, I opened the door, there's 3 dolls in here, and all these dolls do is each one adds 5 curse to me, which then means I'm getting 15 curse around. And what curse does is at the start of your turn, you take 1 damage for every curse that you have inflicted. And you're kind of like starting max HP is like 100, is like lower hundreds. Like I think it starts at 100 and you can upgrade it to be like 120 or whatever. So like if they're putting 15 more on you every turn, that's a lot of damage that will just come at you very fast. And it's like these, and so there's that level of that slight bit of horror added of like, oh please, I hope I don't open the door and find
Like
the
another
wrong,
encounter.
yeah, the one thing that I do not want. But at the same time, it's using a lot of the again, the language that especially Slay the Spire really established, where you get 3 energy. That's like your thing. It's like, yeah, when it's your turn, you have 3 energy. That is kind of the amount that you just base have. Like basically I feel like every deck builder that I have played that uses an energy system, it is 3, and it feels like, because that's just how you do it. Like that is just the language that we are playing with here. Um, yeah, it's neat to have again. So it's neat to have something that is. I can be very hooked into a genre, into a particular entry in a genre, if they are adding something compelling. Like, hey, here's the aesthetic. Do you want to play this, but 90s horror? And I'll say, you know what, I do want to play that. Actually, I do want to play a 90s high school horror. Uh, Slay the Spire.
Yeah, like as much as sometimes these kinds of aesthetic trappings are derogatorily referred to as like reskins,
Mhm.
um, there is like meaning and like artistic value in like switching the setting of something. It evokes different ideas, it evokes different themes, and like sometimes just a different chill vibe that you wanna experience. So
Yep.
I'm down for this kind of like reimagining um reimagining common mechanics in a different setting.
Yeah,
I almost said popular mechanics, and that's an actual thing.
that's a different
Um,
thing. Yeah.
that's a different thing entirely. Um, did popular mechanics for kids air down in the states
Yes, it
for
did.
MK? Okay, so
Yes.
you do know
I
all
think
about
I
you
feel like
get that's what you learn about Dave Baruchel and Alicia Cuthbert. Okay.
yeah, I feel like that was I want to say that was a Saturday only thing though. Like it wasn't on PBS, and like all the other network channels would do they weren't doing kids programming like during the day because kids were at school. Um but I feel like I want to say there was a back to back of Popular Mechanics and Beekman's World. Um
I don't know Beekman's World.
weird sciencey show. Like, oh, there's scientist with goofy hair. There's Lester the Rat, who was a guy in a big like a guy in a rat costume. But also by costume, I mean like not a mask. Like he had like the fake ears hood, but then he had like the like tied around your face rat nose thing.
Okay, I think I've seen this before, but this would have been a little before my time, and it's American, so we wouldn't have gotten it like on Canadian like children's TV on the CBC or TVO. We would have gotten it probably on like syndicated in on like Global or something. But I'd have to look into where it aired here because I think I have seen this before. But yeah, interesting stuff. So do you want to do one more game each, then we'll call it?
Yeah.
All right. What would you rather hear about? Mario Tennis Fever or Romeo's a Dead Man?
Um, integrate them both. You swing things in both, I think. No, let's go. You know what? Let's go Mario because then like that like my game I'm gonna go with a like Nintendo one as well. So
Okay, we're gonna Nintendo up the rest of this podcast
Mhm.
because this has been a remarkably Nintendo-free podcast. Although it probably should have come up more because out of the big three console manufacturers, the two that have gone AMD are Sony and Microsoft. Nintendo's gone all in on Nvidia, um, and I'm guessing some probably less than happy phone calls were
Oh,
probably
I'm
made this
sure.
week
Yeah.
from Nintendo to Jensen Huang being like, "Yo, this is bad publicity for us too. What kind of DLSS crap are you gonna shove in the Switch 3?" So yeah, that probably isn't gonna work out so well for our buddy Jensen. So Mario Tennis Fever is the follow-up to Mario Tennis Aces, which is on Switch 1. Fever is a Switch 2 exclusive. Um, so a little bit of background here. Aces was not super well received. It was deemed to be very content light at release. It did add more content for free later with updates.
Yeah.
But at release, it was not considered to be a full game. What it did have, though, was a pretty lengthy, pretty meaty campaign. And actually a pretty fun campaign, I would say, with an
Yeah, I
actual, like, interesting story. Go ahead.
I did that one. Like I that one was one that I did actually. I did do the Mario Tennis Aces campaign, and yeah, it was fun. Like
Yeah, and like you actually played tennis in that campaign. There are a bunch of mini games too, but they all revolved around hitting a ball at a thing.
they were very much there to teach you to sneakily teach you a bit more mechanics because like I remember one where I think it was a bunch of shy guys on a train, and so that was teaching you like the ways to like aim your shots a bit better
Yeah, I
because
was teaching about height, right?
you had to aim. You had I think there were different heights for them, and I feel like there were even ones where you really needed to make those curve shots because like you were limited in how far you could move, like or where you could go, but you had to
Yeah,
hit
so wanting you to slice sometimes, wanting you to drop
exactly
shot.
like
Okay.
things like that where it was like okay, this is a silly little mini game, but like it is still working with the fundamental tennis mechanics.
Exactly. So Fever also has a campaign. A much shorter, much I'll just flat out say it, worse campaign. Um and I don't like when it comes to video game criticism, I don't like just being don't like just saying this is bad or this is terrible or this is horrible like without explaining where I'm coming from. Uh Coming off Aces, this campaign is almost insulting.
Oh
Like I
wow.
don't know how else to put it.
Wow.
Um it's basically this campaign is divided into two halves. Um the first half you're at the tennis academy. I think probably is a throwback to I think it was Mario Tennis on Game Boy Advance or 3DS or one of the handheld Mario Tennises, which is all based around being in an academy. Um, and it's essentially an extremely protracted tutorial. Like you're learning about drop shots hours in instead of minutes in.
Oh god.
Um, and you play a lot. It's padded out with a lot of terrible mini games that have nothing to do with tennis. Like you're not even holding a racket in hand, you're just kind of like running around and doing some dumb minigame nonsense. There are even a whole bunch of quiz sequences where you're asked about tennis rules or different types of shots. And
Oh,
yeah, it's just super inane and really not really engaging. Um, and then in the second half of the campaign, which is considerably better, you actually get to leave the academy and go on an adventure. And that fares a bit better, but it still doesn't have the sauce that the Aces campaign had, which was really just you are going to play tennis against opponents. Why does playing tennis against these opponents help you advance the plot? Don't worry about it. Just play tennis against them. Whereas here, it's a lot more minigame focused, and they're trying to kind of weave in the narrative. But I wish they'd taken more of the like, instead of you have to destroy this barrier with tennis shots, be like, here's a magician that's putting up a barrier, and the way you stop him from putting up the barrier is you defeat him with tennis. That might have been a little bit more fun because what I'm there for is the tennis. I'm not there for like, you know, breaking rocks with tennis balls. That's not the core
yeah.
appeal of this. Um, and then can I do spoilers or are you gonna play the campaign?
Yeah, you could spoil away. I have no plans. Like, with the whole money thing, I'm like, yeah, if I really feel like, or even if my kid was just like, oh man, that Mario Tennis. I'm like, yeah, you haven't played Aces yet. Like, we have Aces. We have Mario Tennis at home.
Yeah, in this case, the at-home version is the better one.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like, well, yeah, especially because like if I can imagine that anything would be like changed and improved, it would be the multiplayer online. But like, he's not gonna do that. Like, he's gonna want to do the campaign, and like, I love that. Like,
yeah, I don't think your kid's gonna listen to this. There's too much cursing. Um, but
too
like,
much
okay,
talking about Nvidia.
oh, maybe your kid's really into Nvidia. What do I know?
Yeah.
Um, but like, okay, so the final boss of this campaign is a massive spike in difficulty, but not massive in terms of tennis skills. It's massive in terms of having to perfectly parry tennis shots. And if you don't time it
Mm.
exactly right, there are like instant death sequences. So that took
Oh,
me
we
like 40 tries to clear.
we love parrying. It's just the best game.
Yeah, look, you want me to parry, put me in front of Obscure or like fuck it, I'll even play Sekiro again if you want me to suffer through that. But why is there parrying in my tennis game? Who thought this was a good idea? And why did you make the final boss of the campaign dependent on parrying? Like, why is this in here? It's horrendous. It's one of the worst final bosses I've played in a long time. And again, I don't like being like I don't like saying, "Oh, this is terrible and it sucks," and like that being my video game criticism. But I really do have to like this is not something like I see the vision and it's just badly executed. I don't understand why anyone thought this was a good idea. That's where I'm very confused. Like this is not core to the mechanics of the game. At no point in this game do I need to be good at parrying. Why is parrying what allows me to defeat the final boss? I don't get it. I mean, that's the campaign. The other modes I think are a lot better. There's a set of tournaments, which are kind of your straight ahead tennis. Um, there's a bunch of challenges. I don't know that those are really good. Some of them are interesting. There's one special gimmick type of match called a forest court match, where imagine a tennis court but way wider,
Okay.
and that each side is divided into 8 squares. So 4 by 2, and you can make more squares appear on your opponent's side by hitting piranha plants that pop up. And at the same time make squares just appear on your side, which gives you more places you can hit to and them have more ground to cover. Um, So it's this really interesting dance of like when you get screwed over by them hitting a piranha plant, having to manage more court, but also trying to strategize and hit piranha plants and find opportunities to hit them from your side. So that I think is a gimmick that works really well. And then finally, the last mode is trial towers, which are I guess a series of 10 gimmicky challenges you have to clear. Um, they're all right. Some of the gimmicks are a little bit. Um, I feel like you're playing a really cheap opponent sometimes, which I guess is part of the challenge. But also, it's that same sort of thing where in JRPGs where um, you know, y- like the regular grunts are too go down too easy for you to ever use any of your special abilities or debuffs, and then you get to
Yeah.
the boss and they're immune to all your debuffs. Same sort of thing here. Where when you're playing regular tennis, you don't always break out the abilities because there's no point. But then when you're facing the gimmicks, none of the gimmicky bosses, none of your gimmicks work. I don't know that I really like that. It seems like what it makes me wonder like why do you have debuffs in your game to begin with if I can never use them? So,
That is also a classic RPG. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
yeah. Um I should also mention how this actually plays. So aces, you had like your special shot meter that you'd build up, but you'd also
Yeah.
use it up very easy by like it's also a
Doing
meter
like
that your
doing the
reach
like
meter, right?
yeah, where like you do the like super flashes across and stuff, and so it was very hard to actually get that special off. Like,
Yeah, fear is a little different, and that just kind of builds up over time, and then you decide when to like unleash.
mm.
Um, and your special meter is it's not just about doing a smash; it also can create hazards on the opponent's court, like like a volcano that erupts and spews lava everywhere, or like it tornadoes start circling around the opponent's side of the court, things like that.
And
They're
this
called
is
fever rackets.
yeah, I was gonna say I remember this from the thing. It's like that you choose like your equipment, right? Like
Yeah,
you can be playing Boo and take like with a fire racket or something, but you can also be Pauline with the fire racket or whatever.
exactly. Yeah. Um, so in some ways, this is less annoying than aces because aces you can get into really bad loops where your opponent is able to position themselves and always build up their special meter through having the star shots or being able to fire off good flat shots. Whereas you're always chasing after them and like depleting your special meter using your trick shots. Uh, so it gets rid of that, like the ability to fall into a rut. Um, but it also takes away a lot of the strategy. So now you you don't have a way to deplete your opponent's special meter. All you can do is react to their special shot, and you can, by the way, kind of. I don't. I'm going to say the word parry, but I mean parry in a different sense because it's not like super reaction time based than what I was talking about earlier. You can like hit a hit a feeder shot back at your opponent so that you don't feel the effect of it, and then it kind of ricochets back and forth. But you have to volley it to hit it back. And the problem is you end up in these like cycles of just 20 shots back and forth of volleying, which is not what tennis is.
No, no, yeah.
Like you're playing badminton at that point. Um, and the way it's paced is almost like badminton, like with like how a shuttlecock will kind of just float up into the air and then you have to whack it back. It's not just smash after smash after fast, but badminton and tennis have very different pacing. This is like badminton paced tennis. Um, it's very weird. It feels unlike tennis, in a way that Aces didn't. Like Aces doesn't exactly feel like tennis. It feels almost a little bit more like a fighting game, but I'm still fundamentally like your baseline to baseline shots feel like you're playing tennis. Like finding an opportunity to advance up to the net and hit a volley, it feels like tennis. Here, like the amount of like moving around the court is very untennis. Like you don't go back and forth between the net and the baseline multiple times within one rally. That is just
No.
not how tennis is played. And this is the kind of game where you do though. You're like running around the court chasing down the ball. You don't get into good rallies that way. You end up in these like volley to volley rallies where you're moonballing volleys back and forth. It is so untennis like. It just feels like you're playing a different sport. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it just feels like I'm not playing what was advertised on the box.
Well,
Like
because
if
like
you
I think of with aces and the like using the thing to do like the fast dives and stuff, and just when you watch real tennis, you can like feel those moments where all of a sudden someone has the advantage, where one person is like in control of the conversation on the court right then. Um,
yeah,
and that's where it feels like with that, where it's like, oh, you have to make these dives, and a key part of that is that it's that sort of nudging someone to one side of the court where it's like I'm going to keep moving you a little bit over to like your right, and you know that like that's setting you up to get a good whack to your left and stuff that you're not going to be able to counter.
that
It,
is
it,
actually a really good insight because the way Aces works, it's paced that you can't always recover to center.
yes, exactly.
Whereas, like, you do have the ability to kind of build a point and manipulate people around the court. In Fever, you can manipulate people around the court, but they always have enough time to recover to center. It's not like you hit left and then they barely return and then you hit right and then they weren't able to
And they're
make it.
psyched out. Yeah.
Yeah, it just you can't point construct in the same way that you could in Aces. Um, and yes, there was like the flip side of that in Aces where you're constantly diving for the ball. It's like every shot you're playing like Carlos Alcaraz. But
But at the same time, that those dives were like the big ones were using up your meter, and eventually that meter like runs out.
yeah, like I get it that it's always going to play like highlight reel tennis. I'm not expecting something realistic, but I am
It's
expecting something
Mario,
with the
yeah.
same
Like,
sort of rhythm, right? And you just don't get that rhythm from Fever. It is not recognizably paced like tennis. And that ultimately is why I think like I don't want to say this game is a failure because there is like the campaign is terrible, but everything else about this is kind of enjoyable. Like this is an enjoyable take on a Mario sports game, but they just didn't make what I would recognize as a tennis game. And that is a little bit of disappointment. Like if they were to take out bounces and just remake this as Mario Badminton, I think they'd be cooking with gas.
and this is what I was like. I think that Nintendo, and this is always like this has been a criticism of Nintendo for a while, where they've fallen into like a lot of like they're sending out the same things, like, oh, here's the and oftentimes it's overplayed. Like, we get things like Donkey Kong Bonanza, and that's like a new Donkey Kong game that's unlike any previous Donkey Kong game or Mario game. But we also get like I feel like in the past we would get like different Mario sports games. Now we get a Mario Tennis every couple years. We get a Mario Golf every couple of years. But it doesn't feel like they're saying, "Hey, we're going to make a golf game that has Mario." It feels like you guys liked Mario Golf, so we've got another Mario Golf coming. Of like, and then it also feels like they kind of like the last Mario Golf. One of the biggest draws of it was it being like, so you can like play this thing in like active time, like where you run to the
Yeah.
ball, like you hit your ball and then you run to it, and it's like, okay, but at that point, like I'm not playing golf. Like that's not what
You're
golf
playing
is.
the 2026 viral sensation Super Battle Golf.
Yes,
Uh,
that thing that but that sounds like that has fully like laid into that, like
oh yeah,
the ridiculousness, like what, like dropping missiles or bombs and stuff on like things. But
it
like
is. I've played a little bit of it. It's a little bit. I would say it's less fun than advertised. It just feels like you're getting. It has. It's competitive, but it has very friend sloppy energy.
this is the
Um,
yeah, this is the thing is that it's a friend swap game, so there's a level of how much you play it is going to be not coming from the game so much as like, hey, I'm hanging out with my buds. We're
yeah, I've
hanging.
yet to play it with my regular gaming group. I've only played it with complete randos, and unfortunately, this I should have figured out how to mute voice chat, because unfortunately, the server that I ended up on was just like one guy was like saying extremely homophobic things. I'm
Oh
just like,
boy.
dude, it's 2026. Like, nobody clocks you as cool if you use the F slur anymore, you know? Um, anyway,
But it's like
back to.
but
Yeah,
so
go
like
ahead.
you're saying that well I was going back to it. If yeah, you're saying like it feels like badminton. Mario Badminton would be fun. That'd be great if they were like, hey, we got Mario Badminton
I just
now.
don't think
Like
there's a market for it. That's why they made a tennis game. Like,
exactly.
who's
It's
into badminton? That's the problem. Whereas, like, I they have the ability to make kind of messed up versions of a whole bunch of sports. Like they could do Mario Hockey, that would kind of rule, right? Um, I don't know, maybe Mario Gridiron or Mario Rugby. They could do a lot with sports that are popular in various niches around the world.
as
But
a
at the
kid, I
end of the
always
day,
wanted to like Mario, like we were saying, like we were calling it as kids like Mario football, but now like now I would know that it's Mario American football or whatever. But still, like I think that that could be a very ridiculous and fun thing. Just all of a sudden,
they already
Matt.
got the charging chucks, right? Um,
Exactly, yeah, like yeah, Madden meets Mario. Just like you could do this, guys. Come on.
Mario Aussie rules, that would be fun. Um,
Oh my god. Oh my god. Uh,
they got boomerangs in there. No, but
that's
like,
obviously how the Aussie rules go. Is that you just play football, but with a bit with a boomerang because we're in Australia, mate.
I- you're lucky. You're lucky you can't get canceled for doing an Australian accent.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. What are they? Yeah.
What are they going to do? Come from the other side of the world? We've had Australians on this podcast
Give
before.
me the boot.
My God. Um, but yeah, it's like the problem is they're always going to be limited to sports that are like have some cachet in Japan, so that soccer, tennis, baseball, right? That's what they're going to kind of cycle through. Maybe basketball, they could get that happening, but you're never going to get like hockey or American
I mean, they had like
football, badminton.
yeah, like they had the 3v they had the DS one that was like the 3v3 Mario hoops, and then they made later the 3DS had I think it was called Sports Mix. And it was like a whole bunch of them, and the biggest problem there was that it was like it was a whole bunch of games thrown in that were like smaller minor ones, but the result was that like none of them had depth. Like because they weren't devoting everything to making a good basketball game. It was, hey, you have basketball and street hockey and I forget what else was in there, but um like it's as soon as you start to be like, hey, we've got a collection of yeah,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
like nothing can get developed to a level of depth that would stand on its own. Um, I mean, I do think they could really cook with basketball because basketball is kind of, in a lot of ways, a ridiculous highlight reel sport, especially if you watch the NBA. Like sometimes there's some really crazy dunks and 3 pointers, and you could build in powers to that, right? Like,
yeah.
um, I don't know, Peach, if she activates a certain ability, can like rocket jump to the hoop or something. I don't know.
Well,
Um,
the funny thing on
there,
that is the funny thing on that though is that there's even like if you look at it and like the games that these got based on of like the original Mario Tennis didn't really have like the character unique powers. It was more there were special courts and characters had different stats. But like that was but besides that it was like it's a tennis game. You're playing Mario, you're playing tennis and you just happen to be playing as Mario characters and also it lets you go a bit crazier with like what your stats are because again you can then have Bowser who is like slow but hits like a truck. Like that's not really a thing that like you can do with like a bunch of normal tennis, like a bunch of humans. Like you can't have that big difference between a Bowser versus a baby Mario. Like
yeah, like clearly, I don't know how much of a tennis nerd you are, but like, clearly Alex de Minaur is way speedier than I don't know Taylor Fritz on the court. But the gulf in their speed is way narrower than the gulf in speed between like Pauline and Bowser, right?
yeah,
So yeah, you kind of exaggerate like the very real differences that exist on a court. And I like Mario Sports as a heightened version of a regular sport is almost enough before you even get to the special powers. And the special powers can be a genuine asset. But like part of the problem with Fever is that the special powers end up kind of being the star of the show, and it's like they haven't focused enough on the heightened tennis. It feels very empty without the special powers. And like at its core, a Mario sports game still needs to function as a sports game. Yes, it's not realistic, but it still needs to feel like the sport it's modifying, you know?
yeah.
Um so I don't know, like hopefully the reception to this gets Camelot to go a little bit more back to the drawing board and think about what they want. What I'm guessing the next Mario Golf game will be, because that's what we're due for next. But maybe Nintendo will let them do something else. Maybe we'll get another Mario basketball or Mario baseball. We haven't had one of those in a while.
I mean,
Um,
honestly, with Camelot, I'm sure a lot of people would love it if they make like a new Golden Sun or something like that. Take a break
I
from
knew
the
that
Mario.
was coming. The second you started that sentence. Yeah, go ahead, make something different. Make a new thing, or make an old thing that you haven't made in a really long time. Let's bring back Golden Sun. Why don't we? Um, it
Make a
just seems.
new again, make a new RPG or whatever. Like
Can you imagine if they
some
made a new sports RPG, like a genuine sports RPG, not like,
and
oh, your stats go up automatically after beating each challenge. You don't get to choose how to allocate your points.
yeah, having like
Like,
actually like you choose your character, like you're choosing how you level up your characters, and then if they lose a match, they get knocked out for like the next one. So you don't have yeah, there could be fun stuff that they could do, and all the while
yeah,
with that sweet Motoi Sakuraba music.
bring that back.
I think
What
that's
else?
been like I think he's still doing like I think he still did the Mario. Has done like all the Mario tennises still and whatnot. Like he's just like in house on Camelot for whatever reason.
Yeah, you're right. It was Motoi Sakuraba.
Yep.
Um, oh wait, no, sorry, I'm looking at Aces. What is Mario Tennis Fever? Sorry.
Oh no, did
Yeah,
they?
it was also Sakuraba. You're right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like they just have him on deck for like everything that Camelot does.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Does he actually work for Nintendo, or is he like a
because he's
concept art?
everywhere. Because he like does the Dark Souls and stuff. Like because he's like always he does all the Dark Souls musics. I think he's just like freelance. I don't know like what it is that like he's just there for all the Camelot stuff.
Oh, remember the Square Enix RPG, like as Axel Blungo would call it, RPG Blunderbuss back in 2022? He did,
Yes.
yeah. So he did both Valkyrie Elysium and Star Ocean: The Divine Force.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because he did Valkyrie profile as well, and that I mean that's pure like that's pure Sakuraba has like the two modes, I feel like, which is the Dark Souls, like, oh, the Firelink Shrine, and then he has like the Baten Kaitos battle themes that just, it is like, hey, what if I went as like crazy rock like as possible? And that is Valkyrie Profile has like that, like the battle theme in Valkyrie Profile
Like
slaps. It's
prog
great.
rock kind of thing.
Yep.
Oh, he also did part of Aiden Chronicle. The funny thing about the RPG blunderbuss, to steal Axel Blood God's term, is like Valkyrie Elysium, Geofield Chronicle, and Harvestella all have their fans.
Hmm.
I've never heard anyone go to the bat for Star Ocean: The Divine Force. Um, I don't know if people think it's a bad game or just not a particularly notable game.
Unremarkable. Yeah.
But no one seems to be like, oh yeah, Star Ocean 6, that's where it's at. But I've heard a lot of people be like, yeah, Harvestella, actually really good. Diofield, really interesting. Valkyrie Elysium, they actually cooked on this one. Um, I'm really curious about Harvestella. I've always wanted to play it, I just never had the time. So,
Yeah, I've really wanted to do Harvest.
oh, you're roboting. You're gonna have to repeat that.
Is
Um, sorry, can you say that again?
the Valkyrie Profile just has like great aesthetic, like the just, I mean, the fact that it's very much like going into like, hey, here's like people who died and now they're your party members, like flat out, like, oh, this one like died because her handmaiden poisoned her or whatever, and now she is like in your party and stuff because you're taking all these dead to try and stop Ragnarok. But then it also had the very cool like just the battle system and the exploration was very unique. And then like Valkyrie Elysium, like it looks like the other Square games. It looks like Final Fantasy uh 7 remake. It looks like that, and it's that they're clearly working off of like same engine like stuff, and it helps with development and all that, but it is very much like, I look at a lot of the Square, like whenever Square is like, here's a new action RPG, and I'm like, okay, this is another one. Like Forspoken at least felt very fun. Like I liked the feel of Forspoken's combat because it was very much like kind of magic spells as gunplay in a way. Yeah.
So, fun fact, um, Valkyrie Elysium was not on Luminous Engine. It was on Unreal Engine 4.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Yeah, art style can do a lot. Can kind of make, you can't always tell if something's a Source game or an Unreal Engine game. Um, I just think it's probably just what like the kind of art style that they go for. Um, actually, what was Final Fantasy 16 in? Was that Unreal or
I
what
don't
was
know.
it in? Uh, I think it was a custom engine. Yeah, it's a custom engine. They didn't reveal what it was. Um, wasn't Unreal. Okay, interesting. Um, I definitely do want to go. Like, we keep encouraging publishers to put out these double A games, and then we don't actually play them. I feel like a hypocrite for not having played at least one of these. So I should go back and play one of them. Like, toss a few bucks to Square Enix for, I don't know, Diofield or something, or
What was
Harvest.
the one? Yeah, I feel like there was. I mean, there's a couple that I've gotten and I like didn't like play, but it's like still like, hey, at least I got them. Now, speaking
Uh,
of though, like much like Harvestella of like RPGs with farming stuff or whatever, or spin-offs from RPGs even.
have you
Um
been Pokopying?
I have been poco but I'm deep in
Poco
the poke.
peeing just sounds really unfortunate. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna run that back. I'm not. We're striking that from the record.
I am deep in the Pokopia. And by deep in, I mean like I'm still on only like my third area of it. Because okay, to
Have
set
you
up,
got this place humid yet?
I got the place humid. That's very early, I'll say.
Okay,
So
that's
the
the
way
only
that
meme I know.
Yeah, that's the way the game works is I mean, first you wake up, you're a ditto. You are you're a ditto. You take the shape of the trainer that used to have you, and you have found like the world of Pokemon is now really the world of Pokemon. There are no humans. The humans are gone. Are they dead? Are they gone?
Hooray!
I know, right? It's a paradise. And so it gives you these very you start off in an open area called Withered Wasteland, and it's very like dry, and there's like a bunch of ruined houses, and it is an open area that in many ways though you are limited in where you can go, but some of the limitations on where you can go are because of abilities. Some of them are just because it feels very inconvenient to like try and scale a mountain, for example, whenever you don't quite know how to, like whenever you before you know how to bust down rock, for example. So you go into this area, and what you will do is you will find Pokemon. How do you find Pokemon? Well, you build a habitat for them. How do you build a habitat? You use certain powers to construct appropriate habitats for them. So, like, the first Pokemon that you run into is that Bulbasaur, the one who will want to get the place humid. Um, or no. First you run into Squirtle. That's right. That's right. First you run into Squirtle, and since you're a Ditto, Ditto can transform. This is famously, if anything, the most important thing for Ditto transforming in the games is to use it to breed all your different Pokemon. Um, and so you take your Ditto and you turn into a Squirtle for a bit and use Water Gun to first revive the Squirtle and then start reviving the Tall Grass because the Tall Grass is withered, hence the Withered Wasteland.
Makes sense.
After bringing some tall grass back to life, a Bulbasaur pops out of the tall grass. And the Bulbasaur teaches you how to make more tall grass. And by making more tall grass, you can make more of these habitats that more Pokemon will show up in. Because not only can you make like a tall grass habitat that is 4 pieces of tall grass next to each other, but let's say you put 4 pieces of tall grass under a tree. Well, that makes a tree shaded tall grass, which will attract different types of Pokemon than the other ones than the just regular tall grass. And this is then just how it keeps going, basically. Of like, there is this very satisfying loop, to use a maybe overused term, but where it will be like, okay, I got a new habitat, I got a new Pokemon. And now with that Pokemon, sometimes they have unlocked something new, or they've unlocked a hint for how to get something else new. And all the while there's like a sort of main quest throughout the Withered Wasteland that is it's often done by taking incremental steps that, like, for example, they say, okay, we want to rebuild the Pokemon Center. To do that, we are going to need these materials. To get those materials, you're going to need to, go get this Pokemon or headbutt a bunch of trees to get these. You're going to want to go here, and that's going to require you um, getting, like, let me think. Oh, to break through stuff, for example, you need Rock Smash. And to get Rock Smash, you need Hitmonchan. How do you get a Hitmonchan? Well, you need to put a punching bag next to a bench. It is this very it's very interesting, like, to break down mechanically how this is working, because half the time you're going one direction of you're saying, I'm going to make a patch of tall grass next to a rock to see what comes out from there. Other times the game is saying, hey, you need this thing, here's how to do it. And then sometimes how to do it is its own little bit of a puzzle of like, okay, I need um the punching bag, for example. I feel like I can't remember, this was very early, that it's like hidden away somewhere. Like it's hidden in one of the houses, so you actually need to like walk around the town, find the punching bag, and then set it up and stuff. You need to put it in your pocket and then set it up next to a bench.
Feels like
Um,
every it feels like every like mini puzzle is the solution is essentially the next logical step, like the
Yep.
next thing you might have done.
Yep. And so it's very simple, like puzzles, but the fact that it is very free in how you do them is very nice. Because again, turning the punching bag, setting it up next to a bench. You can do that anywhere. You could set that up like down near the beach. Well, actually, okay, you can't get to the beach then because like you need your box smash. But like you could set it up on the little mountain area, or you could set it right next to the Pokemon Center, or you could set it right next to where you found Bulbasaur, and that's sort of like your own little. It lets you do things in a whole lot of ways, but also like there is still a sort of like key that you have to do to unlock things. And then that gets even more sort of vague and customizable because there are like specific things that are there's like environment levels to the different areas where you will be in this area and it will have an environment level. And how do you upgrade the environment level? A, having more habitats with more Pokemon, and B, upgrading those habitats with the Pokemon. And what upgrading means is to talk to them and find out, hey, what do you want? What would you like? Because sometimes they'll be like, I need a place to relax. And so if you put a bed by their spot, their habitat goes up. Cha-ching. It is very much like just constantly leading you on to do the next thing in a way that is potentially very dangerous. Like I the side of me that gets very hyper fixated has gotten very deep into this game, and feels also like I haven't done like I've put so many hours in, and I'm still not out of the third area that I've gone to. Because again, that's the other thing. Is like each area has a like special task to do for it. So in the case that is also a way of tutorializing. So the let's get humid, let's get this place humid thing is because why did they even want the rain to happen?
It's so that you need to make it humid so that a slowpoke will yawn and make it rain.
Yes. Yes, that is what it is that you need the Slowpoke to yawn to make it rain.
I only
And
know this because I listen to a podcast. I don't actually have this game.
yes. But then like the way to quote make it humid is you learn a whole bunch of ways to make areas more humid. Now the mistake you could make is like my mistake, which was then I kept doing all these things. I kept being like, okay, they want more tall grass around, they want more water flowing. And Professor Tangrowth kept being like, it's at a 71. And I was like, why is it not upgrading? Why is it not going up? What's happening? It turns out that there are some very specific tasks that you need to do. And in this case, the one was that I had made some hydrated tall grass, like just by putting tall grass either next to or in water. And Squirtle wanted to move their home from where they were originally living to this hydrated tall grass, so the new hydrated tall grass area. I did not realize that like literally I had to move them especially because I'd already moved them into a house. I'd moved them into a nice little house. I was like, yeah, you have your house, you're great. And then it was like, oh no, to progress the game, to unlock the next step of the tutorial, I need to move them into the house. And what this is doing is teaching you to take people and move them into different houses that you can say, hey, follow me. Because sometimes, again, they might pop up and be like, I wish it was less humid here. And it's like, well, sadly, I built your environment right by the ocean. So you're kind of going to be humid no matter what if I'm having you live here. But fortunately, I've made this nice dry area over here. Come with me. And so once you reach the level 100 humidity for the area, then you can move on to one of two other areas. There's Rocky Ridges and there's Bleak Beach. Each of those has their own thing that is, again, giving you some tutorials on like, what are you doing here? What are you and they all have like a same sort of like meter of like the Rocky Ridges is like a hype level that like, oh, we want to hold a party. We want the hype to be at 100 in here. And this is teaching you how to, again, just get people excited that you can throw parties, and that just ups people's happiness and stuff. And again, it is very much a just constantly, there's so much to do. And that's not even like getting into all the stuff that is my own neuroses that wants to do things like Rocky Ridges introduces these these like minecart tracks. And so of course I would love to have a rail system that goes between every major part of this area. Is this part of the quest that I have to do? No. Will it make a difference? Probably not. Do I want it because it's fun and I want this thing? Absolutely. That is the case.
There's a bit of like automation in here, like, almost satisfactory, like, or
It's not even
uh,
really automated, although it does have like if you make two railroad crossings on the edge of rails, then Pokemon will actually like ride their own little carts between them, which is A, very funny, but B, means they travel more, which sort of gives you this sense of like, oh, there's a bit more life like around here. Like, and that also happens like if you put stairs down, then that like expands how far Pokemon like in theory are um walking around and stuff. But there really isn't like that much automation is the thing. If anything, like that's one of the things that there's part of me that's like I wish there was that, but also part of me that fully realizes that as soon as we're getting like automation systems of like having Pokemon like harvest veggies for me, then we're getting into like labor exploitation. We're really risking getting into that being like what you're accidentally doing of optimizing, well, I want this Pokemon to be harvesting me like things or whatever. Which is, you know, not great.
basically Pal World.
Yeah, basically. Um, but I do kind of wish like they are very much like not really like doing much except being cute, which is a big thing. Like they are all adorable. I love them. They are some of them have some of like the funniest like ways of talking or bits of dialogue. A lot of these bits of dialogue are like almost jokes like to the audience if you know Pokemon. Like I think of Pokemon fans from like Gen 1 might remember that there's Paris to Parasect, and that Paris has like these big like buggy eyes, like oh big like blue irises and pupils, but then Parasect, its evolved form, has like these just empty white eyes, and it's because like in the Pokedex description it says the mushrooms on its back have grown and now like they control the mushroom on its back does most of the thinking for it, like it has taken
Oh,
it
it's
over.
like Cordyceps style.
Yep, it's like that. And so like you find Paris, and Paris comes out and is like, I want to be big someday, do you think I'll grow big someday? It's like, oh, you poor little thing. Like, oh boy, buddy.
Oh, you'll grow big.
Yep. And then like
You'll
later I
grow a lot
even
of
like
other things.
and then later I got a Parasect, and like a Parasect like comes out of the thing, because this is another thing is like the Pokemon don't evolve, which I'll get to a little bit of my thoughts on that. But like I got a Parasect, and the Parasect comes out and it's just like the way it talks is like, I have moved into this tall grass. Who are you? It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Parasect. And it's like, oh
Oh,
my gosh, you're like mind controlled, like you're gone, like you're
oh,
just a blank slate. Now the thing I
yeah.
do feel is like in that regard though is, and this is how there's a level of how I felt this with Pokemon Legends ZA did this in different ways, of that I felt the same, where I don't know, at least whenever I grew up like playing like the Pokemon games, gotta catch 'em all was the like phrase, but I really feel like I had my guys. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
would catch these guys and that is my guy. And then I think there's a level where, for one thing, the optimization aspect of like EVs, IVs, and natures became so widely known and understood, and then the games themselves let you like customize them so much. Like now in the games, like if your Pokemon has a nature that you would like to change, you can give them like a mint that will change their nature and stuff. And it feels very much like it's playing into that sort of optimization thing and leaving less room for your own personality.
Yeah.
And Pokopia has a lot of opportunities to do personality. Like you can build people their own houses. And yes, they have their own, like, oh, I want this thing in my house, but it's always so vague that you can kind of play around with that. Like, and there's some fun customization that you can do where like some Pokemon will pop up in red tall grass, and red tall grass grows in rocky ridges. But I grew a bunch of red tall grass in rocky ridges, put it in my pockets, carried it over to Withered Wasteland, and put it down there. And then that meant that like the Pokemon that would pop up from there is now living in like an entirely different habitat than quote unquote it's supposed to be. And there's like fun little ways to play around with that. Like you can make specific Pokemon be your roommates. You can make specific Pokemon be roommates with each other with certain houses. That some houses you build up the area and it can fit like 4 Pokemon in them. There's levels of customization to that, but
I
it
feel
also
like that can result in a lot of like dangerous comedy. Like if you make a I don't know a Charizard live with a Chikorita, that feels like
there's
it's not
apps.
gonna end well.
Oh yeah, there's like gonna be because some of them that might be like an actual problem where it's like, well, these two can't like agree on like a good house, and so like neither one is happy, and maybe I have to move them out. But other ones, it is like I've paired up some that I'm like, oh, this is some sitcom material right here. Let's go. Like I want to like I just did
Like
what
if you pair up a Miltank and a Tauros to like close the curtains,
I
like
mean look, I don't think there is breeding in here. I am really curious if Hydreigon is in this because there's a huge community of Hydreigon Sylveon shipping online. Like you can find so much fan art of them. And so the idea of making them be roommates is fantastic. I wonder if you could get Whale Lord and Skitty to be together because that's a famous
okay, I didn't know what a Hydreigon was until right now. I see it has 3 heads,
Yep.
and I feel like any breeding that involves a multi-headed Pokemon just feels wrong.
Look,
Like,
it's like battling. They like it. Um,
okay, let's
but
go with that.
there is very much this level where I feel like in the end, the goal is going to be to sort of have everyone, and that those guys they're not really going to evolve in like the literal Pokemon sense or in the like changing sense. Like I think if I visited a friend's town and they had, a Eevee, it's going to be the same Eevee as in mine. And there's this, and so it very much risks the habitats and Pokemon becoming more of a checklist. Is I guess my fear. Like because to go back to like how saying the
Yeah,
spirit lift thing, I understand a big of like whenever we talk about the spirit lift and you said about like the weight of dialogue of even with a big game like Pokopia, letting you shape a Pokemon's like personality and stuff could be just so much dialogue. Like it would be wild like to compute. So I can understand not having that, but there really is this level where it feels like a lot of people's towns, at least in terms of inhabitants, are going to feel the same. And in some
yeah,
ways, like that's fine. That's the game. That's the game it's going for. It just, I like, I constantly think of how this is doing a lot of things, especially like crafting and terraforming wise, and all this. Like I would, and just the amount of activities in a way, quote, better than Animal Crossing. But I also
yeah,
think of how much with Animal Crossing, like having your villagers was like your thing. And yes, that also got like the weird optimization, the memed Raymond in boxes thing, where it was like, people wanted Raymond and were paying money to get this cat with heterochromia like in their town and stuff. But like for me, there were a lot of ones where it was like, oh, this is like my baby. Like this one is in my town. This one showed up in my town, and I love them, and I never want them to leave because I've grown attached to them. I swear to God, everyone on the internet, I liked Anka in New Leaf, and I liked Anka in New Leaf because she was in my town and was a fun Egyptian cat. And actually, first, whenever I met her, I sent her a mean letter because I didn't like her. But then she got turned into a.
I got it.
But then she got turned into an icon on the internet, we'll say. There's
That we'll
Anka.
say is a
There's
little
there's
distressing.
there's Anka art. There's a lot of Anka art. There was an Anka video that was a thing. Yeah. So
Okay. So I just Googled, like Google image search Anka Animal Crossing,
Yeah. Yep.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
okay, I
and I
see.
swear I was so heartbroken that I did accidentally I didn't set my New Leaf town to the version. There's one version of it that you have a bunch of town ordinances in those games in like New Leaf and New Horizons, and the ones in New Leaf, one of them is like keep it beautiful, where weeds won't grow unless you really leave your unless you really don't visit your island for a long time, and even or your area for a long time, and even then they'll grow very rarely. And also, though, secretly, if you have it on the like keep it this way, your villagers will not like leave. They won't just randomly leave in the time that you aren't playing the game. I did not have my thing set to that, and I like didn't play my game of New Leaf for like 4 months or like maybe even longer, and then I booted it up, and like Anka had left. I was like, no, come back.
No, we need you.
But then, if anything, like New Horizons, like I didn't. I feel like New Horizons sort of lost that personality in a way because they made it be that literally you have to. A character will think, I'm thinking of leaving, and they'll ask you, and you have to say, all right, peace, if you want them to leave. But like that
They
result
can't
is
just leave of their own volition.
they just do not like leave. So like I booted up like when the Switch 2 update for New Horizons dropped, I booted it up, and lo and behold, my town has Cherry and Anacotti and Julia and all these characters that like I left it with because they aren't going to just leave of their own volition. And in some ways I get it, and in other ways it's like unfortunate. It feels very player catered to the player. And that's a lot of how I feel about Pokopia, is there's a lot of it feeling like, oh, you meet a Pokemon and they just like you. Like already they are like want to be friends. You can task them with stuff. There's a little bit of friction of like tasks that you can have them do, like ones with the crush ability, for example, can turn berries into paint. But if they've like done it once, or they just finished building a house, they'll be like, no, sorry, I'm busy. I can't do that. Like, or ones that grass types, if you bring them to like flowers or vegetables, they'll make them grow faster. And they'll eventually be like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore and stuff. So there's little bits of friction with stuff like that. But beyond that, like no one's like, oh, well, can you give me a nicer house before I like help you a bit more or anything? And again, like getting the Pokemon is just a matter of like getting their habitats. And sometimes that's again following some clues and
Yeah.
stuff. But it also my worry is how much will I kind of after I've gotten my towns to a layout that I like, is that then going to be it for me? Will I be like, okay, I don't need to like check in with you guys. Like,
It feels like they just didn't want it to be super transactional, right?
yes,
Like when it becomes super quid pro quo, yes, you are introducing maybe even necessary friction, but you're also changing the vibes of the game.
Hmm.
So I don't know how they could reconcile that. Maybe
Yeah.
cooperative challenges that you need to solve with your Pokemon that are like caused by a third party. I don't know.
Well, and
Um,
if it ends up being that like I play this thing and I get to a certain point where I'm like, okay, I'm good, that's also fine. Like I don't need that. There is no need for this to be a game that I play, like that I check in on every day, like that I used to do, which was like what I did with like the Animal Crossings for a bit, was that I would, especially New Leaf, like when that was in my 3DS, I would like go to work, and on the bus ride I would just do a bit of stuff in town, and then I would leave work and I would boot it up and go to like an island and stuff, and that was just like a routine for me. It was a nice little like simple routine whenever I wasn't like playing a Fire Emblem, for example, because that was usually the other thing that was in my 3DS. If it wasn't Animal Crossing New Leaf, it was okay. I've got a Fire Emblem and I'm playing that. And if
Pokopia, you can
Pokopia,
actually hit credits though, right? Like that is a different approach.
yes, yeah, there is a like end to the like sort of story that I have no idea where that goes. Again, I know I have at least one more area to do because there's like some gates that I haven't gone through yet. And I'm not sure, there's like three gates that I haven't gone through, and I'm not sure if it's like they all lead to. There's like one in Weathered Wasteland, one in Rocky Ridges, and one in Bleak Beach, and I'm not sure if they all lead to one same one or if they like each lead to a different one or what. Like, and I can't quite figure it out positionally, like picturing it on a map. I just need to.
Speaking of picturing it on a map, the like it's not a major spoiler to say that this takes place in Pokemon's Kanto region, right?
Yeah, it very much like it gets pretty obvious, like, and that especially like by the time if you hit Bleak Beach, then it's like, oh yeah, this is like it. And there's some very cool stuff that's being done with that, where like you can like people have mapped out, and it's like, wow, they really like mapped out like how far things are from other things, and it matches up with like what it was in the games, which is very neat to me that they've sort of said, okay, yeah, that's how the town is laid out. Like you get to the Rocky Ridges is definitely Pewter City, which was like the city where you fight Brock. He's your first gym leader in the first games, and it's also right next to Mount Moon, and there's a museum in it. And sure enough, there's a big mountain that you can go in. There is a broken down museum. Like it's all there, baby. They very much devoted to being like, yeah, no, this is the Kanto region. And look, my thoughts on how much we keep playing with Gen 1, I can't complain really whenever the game that was last year was a Kalos one, and like I loved Pokemon X, and so like given so them being like, hey, we're going back to this region and having a game that's set entirely in Lumio City, you know what? All right, fine. That was a gift to me, Cindy, and like that's I'm fine with us going back to Kanto again.
Yeah, like I was trying to like segue into plugging that piece you'd written for your blog, um, which is about kind of how we do keep going back to that well and kind of like relying almost on the iconography that has like built up in especially older players' minds about that region of the Pokemon world.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I you know what it reminds me of, and I don't necessarily mean this in a good way or a bad way. Um, have you ever been to like Disney World? Uh, they sell ice cream sandwiches in the shape of Mickey Mouse's head. And I
Yeah,
don't mean that it has the details of Mickey Mouse on it.
it's the circles. It's the hidden
It's
Mickey style one.
yeah, It's just three shapes. It's two circles stuck on one bigger circle. Um, and then if you go to one of the gift shops at the theme park, one of the items they sell is a T-shirt featuring an image of a like a half-eaten like Mickey ice cream bar. So like it's just like in the shape of that with a stick coming out and a bite taken out of it. Um, so like
We're having layers of iconography then. Of it's like not only are you having nostalgia for Mickey Mouse, but you are having nostalgia for the things that we made in the shape of Mickey Mouse as well.
yeah, exactly. It's and that's sometimes how I feel about like returning to the well. Um, at a certain point, it's not just about the feelings you associate directly with having played Gen 1. It's filtered through Gen 1 having been portrayed in anime and in movies, and then all the iconography that has been associated with it over the years, all the memes that have been associated with the first 150 Pokemon. Like Pokopia is not just built on your nostalgia for red and blue. It's built on several decades now at this point of like Pokemon games and media and merchandise all having built off that original 150. And you can't really separate your feelings on revisiting this like abandoned version of Kanto from the feelings you have over the past couple of decades of all that merchandise and media.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it's interesting to return that well. And like I know Sandy, you're also a Digimon fan. It like sometimes it does feel like creatively limiting. Um like how Digimon keeps returning to the Adventure One crew.
Yeah.
And in that case, you don't because Digimon's like much less popular franchise than Pokemon, you don't have that like meaning that's been created through interaction with society. Like there isn't the same amount of merchandise and additional media. It's just that anime, really. Um, and so, like, I don't associate any other feelings with seeing an Agumon than the Agumon that hung out with Tai.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and
I will. Well, okay. Now I do. There are two Gabumons. There is the one that was Matt's, and there's also the one that thinks the one girl called herself a lesbian.
I have no idea what you're referencing.
It's in one of the It's it's in one of the what are the RPGs called? You've played them. Oh, Cyber Sleuth. It's in one of the
Oh yeah, it is in Cyber Sleuth.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
the part
yeah.
where it's like, what, a thespian? I thought you liked boys or something.
Oh, by the way, if you play as a girl, everyone just treats you like you're a lesbian
Yeah,
because they did not change the
because they didn't
script
change the thing.
really
Yep.
between like the boy or the girl version. It's not like in Time Stranger where they did account for that. No, in Cyber Sleuth, you're just straight up canonically lesbian. Everyone just assumes you're into girls. It's very funny. Um,
Yeah, but like, yeah, the yeah. I think the big thing in the end with the Pokemon aspect with Pokopia to sort of like put a bow on it is like, yeah, like it's unfortunate that that everything is kind of being like, hey, remember Gen 1, like I got a side ponytail, but that's Misty's hairdo. It's not I got a side ponytail, it's Misty's hairdo. I got glasses from the super nerd thing. And where did I find the super nerd thing? I found the super nerd thing where you would find the super nerd in Mount Moon, who you fight and then you get to take one fossil from. Like, it is a level of, I'm sure that the piece that I was responding to was very much not knowing these things. And, a friend also, like one of our friends, like is has no familiarity with Pokemon. But in a way, it's like my mind is poisoned by knowing all this, by knowing the nudge nudge wink winks that they're doing. that when they say Koga and Janine as names, that it's like, I know those names because I played the games, and that's what you want me to feel. You want me to go, oh my gosh, I remember Janine and Koga. Like, I know them.
Yeah,
And
it's
and so there's this level where, again, my biggest the most fun I'm having is when I'm doing things that are like making my own mark on the world, like choosing what goofy house to make or making this big interconnected minecart path. And the spots where I feel like it ends up a bit flatter is, okay, well, am I going to go through the well of Pokemon? Are there going to be like 200 guys that are the same 200 and I have that everyone else will have, and that's my town? Or those are my towns. And that's it. I don't know how many there will be, probably like 300, probably, in the end. Which is,
yeah, because
you know,
they do have Pokemon from other gens in there.
they have like tons of ones throughout, and like, there's like 1,000 some Pokemon. I'm not sure what they're gonna do, like if I'm gonna encounter Ultra Beasts or anything. That'd be, or Paradox ones. That's getting into some deep Pokemon.
That is Pokemon lore way beyond what I know. Because like I never played the games growing up, and I like left off the anime somewhere in Gen 2.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, all I'll say is that some of the later games go into like crazy, like between like other world stuff. Like the whole plot of Sun and Moon is like a evil corporation trying to like open a portal to something, and within that are these things called Ultra Beasts that like aren't Pokemon, but they are Pokemon. They function like Pokemon, but they're not really Pokemon. Also, they all look like, they look very much like the humans who are like in this foundation, but in like a Pokemon-y way. It's weird.
oh, it's some Digimon shit.
It is.
Like
It's like, yeah, if you look at the like designs for the Ultra, it's actually very cool as well that they do go for this very like otherworldly thing. Like if you look at Ultra Beasts like Pheromosa or Buzzwole, which Buzzwole is just the best name. It's a big buff bug, and it is Buzzwole. Like it is Buzz and Swole.
looking at oh, that is straight up Stingmon right there.
Yeah, right. Like it's just Stingmon, but like even more buff. And yeah, and that's basically it. It's like the Ultra Beasts look like weird otherworldly things, and then so I'm curious if like I'll encounter anything like that in like Pokopia. If I'll get some of the like less animalistic ones. I know there's not going to be Gigantamax or Megas because those require human interaction, but still. Anyway, I'm going Pokemon nerd on this.
Yeah, like I actually do want to ask, do they have some of like the non-animalistic ones, like I don't know, Vanillux or Unknown or
Oh
any of
yeah, I
those?
mean, okay, so there's definitely some of the ones that are like yeah, there's ones because yeah, there's like 3 levels of Pokemon. Of like, there's the non-animal ones, like there's the ones that look like animals, and there's ones that look not animally because they look more human, and there's ones that look more like ones that you said, like Vanillux and
Or Voltorb,
Unknown.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I'm unlocking Unknown. You can find you can find all these like relics around. Like you'll find glowing terrain spaces, and if you break them, there's like relics in them. And sometimes they are like mysterious slates, and there's a spot that is these ruins underneath the withered wasteland that have the pictures of all the unknown on them, and I'm putting like the slates in there. And so my bet is that once I put all the slates in, it like unlocks unknown or whatever. Like unknown will show up there and stuff. But I've got a Voltorb. Like a Voltorb is just rolling around, and that one's again a lot less animalistic. And there also are some of the ones the other ways. Like I have a what's it called? Girder is what it's called, and that's a very like person looking one. I do not have a Mr. Mime or anything. I don't know. Mr. Mime's probably in. They gotta put Mr. Mime in.
I feel like you can't have a Pokemon game without Mr. Mime these
Yeah.
days.
I wonder if they'll
Like,
have
those
Mr.
six-
Rhyme. I wonder if they'll have Mr. Rhyme. That's a weird one.
Mr. Rhyme. This is from gens that I don't know.
It's Gen 8. It is in Galar. There's Galarian Mr. Mime. Oddly enough, this is in the British one. They did not add a special Mr. Mime for the one that is France. But then there's Mr. Rhyme, which the very weird thing is, like, do you have a picture of Mr. Rhyme up?
I do.
Now, if you look at that thing, that head on the top, those aren't its eyes and stuff. No, no, no. The body part, the torso, that's where it has its eyes and nose and such.
I do see the big red blob on the stomach,
Yep,
which
that's
is the
its
nose.
nose, and like that top thing is just like a fake head thing.
That is
It is.
extremely creepy.
It is very strange, is it not? And yep, yeah, like you can see like the yellow button, the things that look like buttons on the coat. That's its eyes and stuff. And yep, weird, 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 weird.
Yeah. Very bizarre.
Very curious if I will get one of those in my town, and if I will be like, here, you go live on your own island. I made an island just
Get out of here, you freak!
Yeah, I made an island just for you.
I can just imagine him kind of miming his way over to that island, like pretending he's like pulling a rope that brings him over. Um, yeah. The last thing I did want to ask about regarding this game is I've heard Venusaur has big mommy energy.
Does sure does.
Like,
She like pops up, or like they like pop up, and they're like, "Oh, hello, dearie." Like, "Oh, I'd love to help you. What a sweetie you are." I'm like, "Oh, stop it, Venusaur, my old love." Like, because I was always a Bulbasaur kid.
I I I heard that she literally says "ada ada" in the Japanese version, which
Oh,
is
interesting,
yeah,
interesting.
big MILF energy coming off Venusaur. And speaking of big MILF energy, if you want to visit a website with big MILF energy, visit the-avocado.org, which is the website of the community that spawned this podcast. So you can go hang out there to find out all about video games, or I shouldn't say find out all about, to discuss video games, but also movies, music, TV, and other pop culture ephemera with a bunch of like minded folks. And if you'd like to keep up to date with this podcast, you can always follow us on our website of avocadogamescast.wordpress.com, where we have considerably less big MILF energy, but you will find a link dump there for each episode that fact checks a lot of the stuff that we talk about. And if that's not enough Avocado Gamescast, you can also subscribe to us. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube Music, we're on Spotify. All you gotta do is search for Avocado Gamescast, and you will find us because no one else has stolen the name yet. Um, I mean, who would? It's like real bad for SEO. It has to be.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, this has been an interesting episode. We talked a lot about Pokemon
sure did.
and
I am.
DLSS.
My voice is gone.
Oh yeah, my voice is also kind of going. So I think we'll leave it at that. And to all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into gassifying your favorite characters. Um, and we will see you on the flip side. Take care.
Yassify Venusaur.
No, 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 we're not gassifying Venusaur. Oh my god, no, no. We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
Too late. It's
Later,
out.
folks.
Bye.